"You guys, was there an accident?" Leo asked, his brow furrowed. He couldn't think of any other reason Spike would be in such a panic to ask about Sophia. "We've got Justin Jean," Spike explained. Leo had just started to breathe a sigh of relief when Spike's next words hit him. "But he paid someone to go after Sophia. Quick." Spike didn't even finish his sentence. A sharp, cracking sound echoed from the other end of the line, followed by Leo's raw shout. "Sophia." Then, the line went dead. Leo tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. Stuck in the car, Spike had no idea what was happening on Leo's end. He slammed a fist into his own thigh, helpless. They were already on their way back. All he could do was yell at the driver. Faster. He knew it was useless, but the desperation was overwhelming. Just get us there faster. The moment Leo heard the terror in Spike's voice, he was already sprinting toward Sophia. He reached the bottom of the academic building just in time to see a man in a baseball cap walking briskly toward her, one hand shoved deep into his jacket pocket. Normally, the man's strange posture wouldn't have caught Leo's attention. But this wasn't normal. And just as Spike's warning about Justin Jean hiring someone for revenge echoed in his mind, Leo's blood ran cold. He didn't think. He just yelled her name. The man in the cap seemed to notice him, his pace quickening into a jog. Sophia stopped and turned to the sound of Leo's voice, completely oblivious to the man closing in on her. Leo couldn't care about anything else. He dropped his phone and broke into a dead sprint. Run. The scream was so guttural and torn from his throat that it made everyone nearby freeze, their heads whipping in his direction. Sophia's reaction was instantaneous. The second Leo's cry hit her ears, she bolted, but she ran in the opposite direction, away from him. I can't drag him into this, she thought, her heart pounding. It was just like she told him. If there's a next time, you have to promise to run. But she knew he wouldn't, so she had to make the choice for him. Just get far away. If something happened, it would only happen to her. Shit, Leo cursed under his breath. Sophia was fast, but she was no match for a grown man. The man in the cap was gaining on her. Finally, when he was just a few steps away, he pulled his hand from his jacket. A dagger flashed in the afternoon sun, its blade gleaming with a menacing light. As if things weren't bad enough, just as the man was about to catch her, Sophia stumbled. Maybe she was running too fast, her legs giving out from under her. She lost her footing and crashed to the ground. There were plenty of students around. When the chase started, they were just confused onlookers. A few had the presence of mind to call campus security. But now, seeing the knife, they scattered like birds. Most of them were kids who had never seen anything more violent than video game. A few brave souls grabbed whatever they could, backpack, books, a stray skateboard, and them, trying to help. But they were too far away. The dagger was about to fall. In a last-ditch effort, Sophia fumbled in her pocket for the pepper spray she'd bought. She twisted around and sprayed it directly at the man's face. He flinched, coughing and sputtering for a moment. He swatted at the air, covering his nose with one hand, but it barely slowed him down. The other hand, still holding the dagger, plunged downward. As the cold steel rushed toward her, Sophia refused to accept her fate, but her ankle was twisted and she was powerless to move. I never got to hear you say you liked me. I never got to be the one you introduced as your girlfriend. But at least you called me my dear Sophia. You asshole. 1,000 thoughts flooded her mind. If I'm not pretty anymore, will you still look at me? Finally, she squeezed her eyes shut. A moment passed. The searing pain she expected never came. Son of a bitch. All she heard was Leo's furious roar. She snapped her eyes open. Leo and the attacker were wrestling on the ground, a tangle of limbs and fury. Dark stains were spreading across Leo's clothes. She couldn't tell whose blood it was. The group of brave students finally reached them. While Leo had the man's wrist in a death grip, preventing him from swinging the dagger, they swarmed in, wrestling the weapon away and pinning the attacker to the ground. Campus security, armed with batons and vests, finally arrived, late as always. What's going on here? One of them yelled, pushing through the crowd that had formed a circle. Call an ambulance, someone shouted. Hey kid, are you okay? A security guard asked, assuming Leo was a student. Leo's clothes were in tatters, ripped in several places by the knife. His brand new outfit looked like a beggar's rags, and the blood soaking through was a terrifying sight. But he waved his hand dismissively, as if it were nothing. Just a scratch. I'm fine. Though he was hurt, a wave of relief washed over him. She was safe. It was over. Leo. Sophia was right beside him, her hand clutching his. Tears welled in her eyes, but she fought them back, her jaw clenched with a fierce strength. The worry on her face, however, was impossible to hide. I told you I'm fine. Leo reached up to wipe her cheek, smearing away a few stray tears that had escaped. His hand was bloody, and now a streak of red marked her face. Trying to lighten the mood, Sophia forced a playful smile. I know you're fine. Only the good die young. In that case, I'll just have to be a menace to you specifically. Leo shot back with a flirtatious lift of his eyebrow. It's a deal. Sophia answered immediately. I'll be waiting. The police arrived before the ambulance. After a quick assessment of the situation, they cuffed the attacker and put him in their car. An officer turned to Leo and Sophia. He was coming for you too. Sophia nodded. The ambulance is on its way, the officer said. Have someone go with you to the hospital. We'll need you to make a statement later. Just as the officer was explaining the procedure, someone in the crowd shouted his name. Officer Evans. Officer Evans turned to see Spike, and a grin spread across his face. Well, look who it is. What are you doing here? It was clear they knew each other well. Spike had made sure to get acquainted with the local authorities as soon as he'd arrived in the state. Officer Evans, this is my brother. Your brother. The officer looked surprised. Leo looked younger than Spike. I'll explain later. He needs to rest. Can I give it a statement for him? I know what happened. It was against procedure, but after a moment of thought, Officer Evans nodded. All right, you come with me for now, but we'll still need your brother to confirm it once he's feeling better. No problem. Leo and Sophia climbed into the ambulance together. Before the doors closed, Leo made sure to give Spike one last instruction. Don't tell anyone about this. He'd barely gotten the words out when a paramedic next to him chimed in. You need to talk less. You're going to pop a stitch. Don't worry, I've got plenty of blood to spare. He trailed off as she shot him a death glare. Leo shut his mouth. Spike would understand. Some things were better kept among the few who already knew. Sophia took Leo's hand and pressed it against her cheek, her eyes fixed on his. Once again, he had saved her. The time Justin Zhang was off the grid in Riverbend, he wanted to get money. In a private room at the hospital, Spike sat on a stool, explaining the whole story to Leo. His family stashed away a pile of cash before their company went under. It was supposed to be for a comeback, but Justin used it to hire someone. We found him just as he was about to skip town on a train. The guy with the dagger confessed, too. Said Sophia was well known on campus, so her class schedule was easy to find. He staked out the building, but she didn't come out when class ended. He was about to give up when she suddenly appeared. Leo sat on the hospital bed, munching on an apple, a wave of relief washing over him. Thank God he'd had a sudden urge to see her, that he'd called her out of that building. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. Spike continued. Leo, they're both in custody now. Since this is a second strike for both of them, they won't be getting out anytime soon. He looked down, his face full of guilt. I'm sorry. This was my fault. I messed up. Leo glanced at his phone. It was almost noon. It's over. Let's not talk about it again. Sophia will be here soon. You should head out. Follow up on the bidding for the new project. Make sure all the important connections are greased. Spike was no longer the street punk he used to be. After coming to the state with Leo, besides running the gaming lounge and helping Leo with odd jobs, he spent most of his time studying. He might not have a college education, but when it came to business, he was already sharper than most. Spike knew he'd be a third wheel. Got it, Leo. I won't bother you then. Call me if you need anything. Leo nodded, and Spike left, quietly closing the door behind him. The room was silent again, filled with the sterile, unpleasant smell of antiseptic. Leo was injured, but he was in a good mood. It had been a close call, but that was all it was. The threat that had been hanging over him like a stone was finally gone. He checked the time again. Sophia should be arriving any minute. He lay back down, draping his forearm over his forehead, doing his best to look like a man on death's door. Being taken care of felt pretty damn good. A little after 12, Sophia walked in carrying a thermal lunch carrier. She sat on the bedside table and carefully helped Leo sit up. How are you feeling today? Does it still hurt? Leo put on a pained expression. It doesn't hurt. His face told a different story, and Sophia knew it. But she decided not to call him out on his brave facade. She opened the container, layer by layer, and the fragrant aroma of home-cooked food filled the room. Leo's eyes lit up with curiosity. You made this. Try it and see, Sophia said, deflecting the question. She ladled some soup into a spoon, blew on it to cool it, and held it to his lips. This is amazing, Leo said, genuinely surprised. He had no idea Sophia could cook, let alone this well. Good. Sophia breathed a sigh of relief, glad that he liked it. Is there anything else you want to eat? I can make it and bring it over tonight. Her voice was impossibly gentle. Leo wiped his mouth, casually tossing the crumpled napkin in a perfect arc into the trash can. Anything you make is fine. I'm not a picky eater. By the way, he added, how's your foot? Sophia's ankle had been sprained in the fall. It wasn't serious, but still needed rest. She shook her head. It's nothing, really. Not wanting to dwell on it, she quickly changed the subject. Do you know where I cooked this? Leo thought for a moment. Did you break a new house? That's right. The renovations are pretty much done. We just need to get furniture and appliances. As she spoke, she took his hand and placed it on her cheek. You need to get better soon, so we can go pick things out. Sophia was full of excitement for their little home. Even after they bought the furniture, it would be a while before they could officially move in. But at least they were getting closer. As they were talking, there was a knock on the door. Sophia quickly let go of Leo's hand and started clearing the bedside table. Come in. Leo, how are you? Connor's son entered, followed by his father, George's son, and his mother. It was clear how much they valued Leo. Mr. Son, you really shouldn't have, Leo said, greeting them. You didn't have to bring a gift. Then, without a second thought, he started unwrapping it. His eyes widened when he saw what was inside. Wow, this is very generous. Not at all. Not at all, George's son said, waving his hand dismissively. Just a bottle of whiskey I picked up a few years back. Nothing special. Leo knew he was just being polite. A bottle of Macallan like this was never nothing special. But since the man was willing to give it, it would be rude not to accept. Well, thank you, Mr. Son. Don't mention it. We're practically family. George's son's face was beaming. If anyone should be saying thank you, it's me. He lowered his voice. The Hamlin Group's stock has been plummeting the last couple of days. All their projects are running into problems. The biggest issue is their cash flow. It hasn't completely dried up, but it's close. The banks have stopped lending to them. A lot of their partners aren't getting paid. Thank God I listened to you and got out when I did. Otherwise, I'd be caught in that mess too. Leo was stunned. So soon. For a company of that size, even if problems arose, it shouldn't have happened this fast. And a broken supply chain was the kind of thing you kept under wraps. Few people offer a helping hand in a crisis, but many are eager to kick you when you're down. The moment suppliers and partners found out their cash flow was shot, they would all demand their money at once. Terrified they'd be left with nothing. It would cause panic among employees, too. No one wants to stick around on a sinking ship. A company would hide a problem like that until the very last second. And from what Leo knew of the Hamlin Group, they should have been able to hold on for at least 2 more months. Leo started to panic. He hadn't raised enough money for the auction yet. Mr. Ho had promised him that once the Hamlin Group's assets went to auction, he could acquire 3 projects valued under $10 million each at their starting bids. Leo had even specifically researched Hamlin's asset portfolio and recent performance data in preparation. Noticing Leo's surprise, George's son added, I heard it's because their second son pissed off some big shot. That explained it. After a few more minutes of pleasantries, George's son got up to leave. Leo, once you're out of the hospital, I'll treat you to a proper meal. For now, just focus on getting better. Leo responded politely, Mr. Son, I couldn't trouble you again. When the time comes, I'll treat you. You have to be there. All right. Well, Leo, we'll be on our way then. Just as George and his wife, Sharon, were about to leave, Leo suddenly remembered something and called out to them. Mr. and Mrs. Son. They both stopped and turned around, looking at him quizzically. Holly Chow is my sister, Leo said calmly. She can be a bit of a handful sometimes, so I'll have to ask you to look out for her. After Leo spoke, George and Sharon were visibly stunned. Even Connor and Sophia, standing to the side, shot him looks of disbelief. A moment later, George's son broke into a hearty laugh. Now you're just being a stranger. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll all be one big family. Isn't that right, Sharon? He glanced at his wife. Sharon squeezed out a smile. That's right. Connor was just saying he wanted to bring her home for dinner soon. Connor, when are you two free? I'll cook for you myself. George and Sharon's son left. Connor, heading in a different direction, didn't go with them. After watching them drive away through the window, Connor rushed over to Leo. My man Leo. He corrected himself. No, my brother. Thank you. Seeing his expression, Leo felt a shiver run down his spine and quickly pulled his hand back. Just talk, what's with the hands? Connor paid him no mind. You have no idea. My mom's been giving me hell over this for weeks. And now she actually agreed. Sophia stood by, covering her mouth to hide a giggle. She knew all about Connor and Holly's situation. Holly had been miserable over it for a long time, even thinking about giving up. But Connor had stuck to her like glue, and since there were real feelings there, they'd gotten back together. But they both knew it was temporary. Without his parents' permission, it would be nearly impossible for her to marry into their family. And now, it seemed like a single sentence from Leo had solved everything. But just then, Leo threw a bucket of cold water on him. Don't get too excited. Connor calmed down. Right. After all, you're not really Holly's brother. Leo shook his head. It's not about that. I'm going to say something you might not like to hear. Your parents and I aren't related. Why do you think they respect my opinion? Connor fell silent. He knew the answer. It was all about mutual benefit. No matter how close George's son and Leo appeared when they met, no matter how concerned their tone, he couldn't miss the glint of self-interest in their eyes. But it was the kind of thing you couldn't say out loud. Their relationship was pure, so pure that the moment their interests no longer aligned, they would immediately go their separate ways, or even turn on each other. Leo hadn't expected an answer from Connor. They were both smart enough to know some things were better left unsaid. It's easy for me to claim Holly as a sister. But what happens one day if I, her brother, no longer have the power to back her up? The atmosphere grew heavy again. But then Sophia chimed in. If you can't, I can. Holly is talented and a fast learner. My platform is about to start its third round of funding. I can have her come work with me to get some experience. Connor, who knows? Maybe one day Holly will be just as successful as you. Leo blinked. He'd almost forgotten. Sophia's social media platform, Livewire, was about to close its next round of funding. He gave her a subtle thumbs up. You're amazing. Connor took a deep breath. Leo, about expanding the market, should I coordinate with Shane and Mark? We've fully developed the market here at our university, and we've established connections at several other schools. Stop. Leo cut him off before he could finish. The doctor said I'm injured and need a rest. Can you guys handle the brainy stuff yourselves? Connor grinned. All right, you get some rest. I'm heading back to campus. After Connor left, Sophia sat down next to Leo. She placed her hand on his head and began to gently massage his temples. You didn't hit your head, did you? If you don't use it, it'll turn to mush. Her touch was perfect. Leo closed his eyes, an expression of pure bliss on his face. Sometimes, it's nice for it to be mush. The less you think, the fewer troubles you have. When you can't afford to eat, you have one problem. Once you're full, the problems multiply. When he finished, Sophia leaned in close, her lips brushing against his ear. She took a tiny, playful bite. Well then, my dear, she whispered, her breath warm against his skin. Tell me, what are you thinking about? What are your troubles? The tingling sensation was almost unbearable. My dear Sophia, if you keep that up, I'm going to have to deal with you. Hee. Sophia giggled mischievously. You want to deal with me? Wait until you're better. Leo rolled his eyes. You're no fun. Sophia stopped teasing him and placed her hand on his cheek. Asshole, no matter what trouble you run into, I'm here. You have to believe that I'm here. I'll always be here. Leo felt a wave of warmth spread through his chest. This girl always knew how to touch the softest part of his heart. Do you know what my biggest trouble is right now? What? Sophia asked, puzzled. I haven't showered in 2 days. I feel so sticky. Maybe you could help me. Sophia froze. Seeing the half-joking, half-serious look on Leo's face, a blush crept up her cheeks. But, she stammered, unable to form a complete sentence. Finally, she took a deep breath and whispered, her voice barely audible, as if it took all the courage she had. Okay, I'll help. But just then, Leo's tone shifted. Thanks so much. It's not convenient to shower at the hospital. Could you please go book me a room at the hotel next door? I'll go wash up myself. As he spoke, he couldn't help but laugh. Sophia instantly realized she'd been played again. Asshole, she huffed, grabbing her purse and storming out. See you tonight, she called back, taking the empty thermal container with her. After Sophia left, Leo considered calling Mr. Ho to ask what was going on, but after a moment's thought, he decided against it. Just as he was putting his phone down to get some more sleep, the door to his room swung open. Isn't it too early for a dressing change? Other than doctors and nurses, everyone else knocked first. So Leo naturally assumed it was hospital staff. Well, you look like you're in good spirits. A deep, powerful voice filled the room. Leo sat up instantly. Thanks to you, I'm doing all right. Mr. Ho, you're such a busy man. What brings you to my humble bedside? Mr. Ho had come alone, carrying a fruit basket. He set it down and, without any ceremony, sat in the chair next to the bed. I was just in the neighborhood. I heard you were in the hospital, so I thought I'd drop by. Compared to the stern figure on television, he was much more approachable now, like a kindly elder. You've heard about the Hamlin Group, I assume? He didn't wait for Leo's response, just continued on his own. Well, I'll assume you have. We've already started collecting evidence of their crimes. It's going well. It shouldn't be long now. He trailed off. Leo knew what came next even if he didn't say it. He could only sigh helplessly. I'm a bit short on cash myself right now. But don't worry, Leo added. Her share. I'll secure it even if I have to empty my own pockets. It's Mr. Ho smiled without saying much. It was refreshing to talk to someone smart. His visit was just a pretext. The real reason was to remind Leo of their agreement. As for Leo's money troubles, he'd already made arrangements. He pulled a business card from his wallet. The Mill District redevelopment is a major project. When the Hamlin Group had it, they used it as collateral to apply for a massive bank loan. It was never approved, which is why the project stalled. Contact this person. He'll know what to do. Leo took the card with both hands, glanced at it, and slipped it under his pillow. Mr. Ho's gesture sent a clear signal. The Mill District project was practically his. This project wasn't just about demolition and renovation. It also included the construction of new housing for displaced residents. It was a multi-billion-dollar endeavor with a very healthy profit margin. The revenue from this one project could match several years of profit for Rush Sportswear. If one were unscrupulous, it could be even more. That was why the Hamlin Group had gone to such great lengths for it, even burning Ethan Jong's mole. But in the end, Leo was the one who would reap the rewards. It wouldn't be easy, though. On one hand, there was the issue of resident relocation and compensation. On the other, the construction costs. He wasn't too worried about the former. He had been preparing for it for a while, with Kyle Yin working from the inside and the allure of the new market development. There shouldn't be any major hiccups. But the construction costs were a different beast. Even with government funding, he would have to front a portion of the capital himself. The $20 million he'd invested was a drop in the bucket compared to the enormous project budget. His plan was to act as the general contractor and subcontract the various components. The subcontractors would cover the initial costs, and he would pay them once the government fund were released. It was the most efficient way, but it came with risks. If the subcontractors ran out of money and couldn't cover materials and worker wages, the trouble would ultimately land on his shoulders. In this era, it was all too common for workers not to get paid before the holidays. Mr. Ho's business card completely erased those concerns. It was a lifeline. If he had his own funding, why would he need to rely on others? Leo didn't want to say thank you. He was sure Mr. Ho wasn't interested in hearing it. Mr. Ho, want an apple? I can peel one for you. Mr. Ho declined. No, thank you. He stood up and straightened his clothes. I won't disturb your rest any longer. I wish you a speedy recovery. Leo knew he was a busy man and was already surprised by his visit. He didn't try to make him stay. Take care, then. Mr. Ho nodded, but before he left, he added with deep meaning, when it comes to making money, know your limits. Leo understood immediately that this was a warning. He replied quickly, I may not have many virtues, but I do have a conscience. I would never do anything unethical on a project like this. The redevelopment project was a murky business with enormous profits at stake, large enough to easily drown a person's conscience. I hope so. After Mr. Ho left, Leo immediately called Spike. Get Hank Yu and come to the hospital for a meeting. Hank Yu was the head of the construction company Leo had acquired. He was a capable man, even earning the respect of Ethan Jong. When the previous owner skipped town, Hank had stayed. For one reason, the pie Leo had drawn for him was just too big, and he actually believed in it. Spike and Hank didn't keep Leo waiting. The hospital was close to the university, so it was a quick trip. Mister, why'd you call for us? Is there something you need? Hank was in his 30s, at the peak of his career. He'd been devastated when he heard the company was changing hands, his future uncertain. But Leo's arrival had given him new hope. He didn't underestimate Leo because of his age. The previous owner had told him Leo was capable, ambitious, and, most importantly, had powerful connections. Hank had expected a complete overhaul, with Leo placing his trusted allies in all the key positions. He was sure he'd be let go, but Leo hadn't done that. He'd even given him a raise and talked about annual bonuses and profit sharing. Hank hadn't understood all the details, but he knew one thing. He was making more money. That was what mattered. His respect for Leo grew. You could have just told us over the phone. You need to be resting, not stressing yourself out. Leo smiled and gestured for Spike to bring over another chair. Have a seat. Some things are better said in person. Once they were both seated, Leo spoke slowly. The Mill District project. I think we got it. Hank and Spike exchanged a look of disbelief. Leo didn't explain further. From now on, this will be your main focus. We can't repeat the Hamlin Group's mistakes. Spike, put the gaming lounge on the back burner for now. Follow Hank. Learn how to manage a company. While Leo was briefing Spike and Hank on the redevelopment project, Sophia had already bought groceries and was back in their house, cooking. The renovations were nearly complete. Water, gas, and electricity were all hooked up. All that was missing was furniture and appliances. That could wait. They would go shopping for it together after Leo was discharged. In the kitchen, Sophia hummed a song. It was clear she was enjoying this. As for the matter of the other door, She didn't want to ask. Some things were better left unknown. It was better to just play dumb. But just then, that other door suddenly opened. Leo. Chloe didn't know Leo was in the hospital. For the past 2 days, he'd been putting her off, saying he was busy and didn't have time to see her. And Chloe had actually believed him. Today, she'd had a sudden impulse to check on the house. The moment she stepped inside, she heard a noise from the kitchen. Thinking it was Leo, she called out his name and walked toward the sound. "What are you?" She entered the kitchen and started to speak, but the words caught in her throat. It was Sophia. "Sophia? What are you doing here?" Realizing she might have misspoken, she quickly corrected herself. "What are you making?" Sophia had been startled, but she relaxed when she saw it was Chloe, placing a hand over her chest. "Chloe, you scare me to death." As she spoke, she ladled a spoonful of the fish soup she was making and offered it to her. "Try it. How is it?" Chloe was full of questions, but the aroma was too tempting. She decided to put her curiosity on hold. She blew on the spoon, and once she was sure it wasn't too hot, she took a small sip. After savoring it for a moment, she took a much bigger gulp. "Delicious!" she exclaimed, before her brow furrowed again. "Sophia, you still haven't told me. Why are you here? Where's Leo?" From her expression, Sophia guessed that Leo hadn't told her he was in the hospital. She was torn. Should she tell her or not? As she was thinking, Chloe asked another question. "This soup, is it for him?" She walked over for a closer look and saw the hospital visitor's pass lying on the counter. "Huh, Sophia." Chloe's voice trembled, her face turning pale. "It's Leo. Did something happen? Tell me, please." Sophia hadn't expected Chloe to lose control so suddenly. She quickly put down what she was doing, turned off the gas, and tried to comfort her. "He's fine. He's fine." For some reason, the more she said it, the less convincing she sounded. Leo was in the hospital entirely because of her. Standing in front of Chloe, she felt a pang of guilt. But Sophia quickly composed herself. She looked at Chloe and said, "A couple of days ago, someone came looking for me to get revenge on my mother." Sophia gave a brief account of what had happened, her voice growing more and more self-recriminating. "It's all my fault. The doctor said he could be discharged in a couple of days." Chloe finally let out a breath of relief, though her face was still etched with worry. "He didn't even tell me." Sophia didn't know how to comfort her, so she chose silence. "Sophia, I'll go with you later," Chloe said after a moment's hesitation. "I want to see just how long he planned on hiding this from me." Sophia sighed quietly but agreed. Okay. After that, an awkward silence fell between them. It was Chloe who broke it. "Sophia, besides this, what else needs to be done? Is there anything I can help with?" As long as they didn't talk about Leo, they could get along just fine. Just like in high school. Chloe's attitude surprised Sophia, but she didn't dwell on it. "How about you peel some garlic?" "Okay." Leo had long since figured out Sophia's schedule. Before she was due to arrive, he would lie down in bed and put on his most pathetic, pained expression. He was getting addicted to being fed. This time was no different. But as he heard footsteps approaching, something fell off. He squinted his eyes open for a peek. What he saw gave him such a fright he shot upright in bed. "What are you doing here?" Chloe rolled her eyes. Seeing him so full of energy, she was finally completely at ease. She even managed a joke. "Isn't this what they call a miraculous recovery? Was I that scary?" She tactfully avoided asking about the reason for his injury or why he had lied to her. Whatever the case, it had already happened. Bringing it up now would only make Sophia uncomfortable. Leo nodded instinctively. Seeing Chloe here at this moment was genuinely terrifying. Fortunately, Chloe wasn't in the mood to argue with the patient. She sat down beside him, propping her chin on her hands, and just stared at him. Sophia opened the thermal container. "Want to try some?" Because Chloe was there, she didn't feed it by hand this time. Chloe chimed in, taking credit. "I washed the vegetables and peeled the garlic. Sophia did all the cooking. I tasted it, it's really good." Leo already knew Sophia was a good cook, but he was surprised that Chloe had helped. Besides washing vegetables and peeling garlic, what else can you do? Chloe tilted her head, thinking. After a moment, she said, "I can learn. So, besides eating, you're useless," Leo said, taking a bite of food. This whole feeding himself thing was no fun at all. Sophia smiled faintly. Just then, her phone rang. "You eat, I'll take this outside." She walked out, closing the door behind her. Now that it was just the two of them, Chloe didn't hold back. She sat right on the edge of his bed. "Asshole, does the wound still hurt?" Chloe had a fresh, clean scent, maybe from her shampoo or laundry detergent. It was lovely. As she spoke, she placed her hand on his arm, gently stroking the bandaged area. "Ahem. It doesn't hurt," Leo said. Of course, Chloe didn't believe him, but she didn't press the issue just continued her gentle caress, as if it could somehow make him feel better. Sophia had finished her call and was about to come back in. Through the small glass window on the door, she saw them. She hesitated for a moment, then opened the door. "How is it? Are you done eating?" Chloe quickly pulled her hand back, though she remained seated on the bed. "He's talking to you. Hurry up and eat." "Which one of your ears heard me say to hurry up and eat?" Leo retorted, taking a sip of soup from the container. "Didn't your mother ever teach you not to rush your meals?" He didn't look at Chloe again. Pouting, she could only glare at him. Sophia stifled a laugh from his side. After a satisfying meal, Leo wiped his mouth and looked at Sophia. "Did you get the room?" Hearing this, Sophia immediately shot a glance at Chloe, silently signaling that she was still there. But Leo didn't seem to care. "If you didn't, it's fine. I'll go myself. I can't take it any more today." Leo's words left Chloe completely bewildered. She looked from Leo to Sophia, her expression growing more and more unnatural. "Can't take it anymore?" And just then, she heard Sophia sigh. Then, Sophia pulled a key card from her pocket. "It's at the hotel right next door." Chloe was stunned. They really booked a room. Leo took the key card, threw back the covers, and prepared to get out of bed. But as he glanced over, he saw Chloe, her mouth slightly agape, staring at him. Seeing her dazed look, he couldn't resist reaching out and pinching her cheek. "Do I look good getting out of bed?" Chloe shook her head like a bobblehead doll. "No." "Then why are you still looking?" At his words, Chloe immediately turned her face away. "Fine, I won't look." As Leo was getting up, Sophia had already taken a change of clothes from the cabinet and grabbed his jacket from the hanger. Though Leo hadn't showered for a few days, Sophia had been washing his clothes for him every day. He'd told her not to bother, but she hadn't listened. Doing something for him, anything, made her feel a little better. Leo took off his hospital gown and put on the jacket Sophia handed him. The weather in Riverbend was getting colder. It was warm in the air-conditioned hospital room, but it would be different outside. "It's already dark. You two should head back," Leo suggested at the hospital entrance. If it had just been Sophia, or just Chloe, Leo might have tried to find a way to make one of them stay. But with both of them there, it felt wrong. Or rather, they weren't at that stage yet. There was still plenty of time. The road ahead was long. Chloe was clearly reluctant to leave. She bit her lip, looking at him. It had been days since she'd seen him, and now that she had to go. After a moment's thought, however, she agreed. "Okay, we'll head back then. We'll come see you tomorrow." Sophia naturally had no objections and echoed her. "Goodbye." Leo waved, watching them leave before heading into the hotel. The doctor had warned him not to get the wound wet, so Leo could only wipe himself down slowly with a towel. It took a long time, nearly an hour. The doctor was due to apply more medicine that evening, so Leo didn't linger. He went straight back to his room. But the moment he walked in, he froze. "Didn't you go back to campus?" Chloe was sitting in the visitor's chair, playing on her phone. It looked like she'd been waiting for a while. The moment she saw Leo, she jumped up. "I had to go back, but then I came out again." She leaned in and sniffed him. "You showered, but you still smell." Seeing her playful expression, Leo couldn't help but laugh. "I couldn't get the wound wet, so I couldn't wash properly. How about when the bandages come off, you can wash me?" Chloe let out a haughty huff and turned her head away. "T.H., you got hurt, and you still hid it from me. You obviously think of me as an outsider, and now you want to take advantage of me? No way." Leo knew she was mad that he hadn't told her the truth, but something about her words felt off. "Me taking advantage of you by letting you wash me? How about I wash you instead?" Chloe's face grew even redder. "No, absolutely not. By the way," she said, changing the subject, "my uncle is coming to the state in a couple of days on business. He said he wants to see me. My dad's idea is for you to come with me to meet him." Toward the end, Chloe grew bashful. Bringing Leo to meet her family felt strangely official, and the fact that it was Ethan's specific request made it even more significant. Chloe didn't know Ethan's motives, but Leo did. So it's finally time. According to Ethan's plan, all he had to do was delay her uncle's progress in setting up a factory here. Ethan had other plans in motion. Leo was more than happy to help. "When does our uncle arrive? Should we go pick him up?" "Our uncle?" Chloe asked, puzzled. Leo nodded. "Is there something wrong with that? Your uncle. Shouldn't I call him Uncle too?" Chloe thought Leo's skin was getting thicker by the day, but for some reason, hearing him say it made her heart flutter. She wrapped her arms around his neck, her smile fading as she grew serious. "Leo, my dad is already in talks with Stanford sending me there to study." Leo was a bit surprised. He hadn't expected Ethan to move so quickly. He was really determined, and the flight from here would take at least a day. They'd be on opposite sides of the world. It was a ruthless move. If he's going to be ruthless, then he can't blame me for being ruthless too. But he couldn't say that to Chloe. After all, that was her father. He reached up and gently stroked her hair. Don't worry, he soothed. You're not going anywhere. Chloe buried her face in his chest. Okay, she murmured. I won't go. I'll never go. Ahem. The two of them were so wrapped up in their embrace, they didn't notice the nurse walk in with a medicine tray. After a couple of loud coughs, Chloe quickly pulled away from Leo. The nurse got a clear look at Chloe's face and was stunned. Wow, she's beautiful. But wait, this isn't the girl from the other day. It was strange, but she didn't ask. Leo White, right? Time for your dressing change. Leo's main wound was on his abdomen. He dutifully lifted his shirt, revealing the bandages. The nurse worked skillfully. After she was done, she thought for a moment and then leaned in to whisper a reminder. The wound hasn't fully healed yet. Strenuous exercise could cause it to reopen. Be careful. Leo blinked, and after a moment, he actually said thank you. You're welcome. After the nurse left, Chloe asked, what did she just say to you? Leo got back into bed and pulled the covers up. She said you're very pretty and that I should take it easy. Chloe wasn't a naive girl who didn't understand anything. She got instantly. A blush spread across her face, and she was suddenly too embarrassed to speak. I don't feel right letting you go back alone this late. Ugh, no, that's not it. Leo realized he'd used the wrong words and quickly corrected himself. I'm not at ease letting you go. Come here, I'll share half the bed. Huh? Chloe let out a squeak of surprise. What, huh? Come here. It's cold on the floor. You'll catch a cold. Chloe hesitated. She bit her lip and finally sat on the edge of the bed. At Leo's urging, she took off her jacket and shoes. Underneath, she was wearing a tight, black high-neck sweater. Without the jacket, her striking figure was on full display. Not only was she beautiful, but she had a great body. All that talk from Leo about her being underdeveloped was just teasing. She slowly lay down next to him. The moment she was down, he wrapped his arms around her. Leo. She was about to say his name, but he pressed a finger to her lips. Sleep. Less talking. Chloe mumbled, a sweet smile spreading across her face. The hospital bed was small, but for two people cuddling, it was just right. Good night, my mister. White. The next morning, before Leo was fully awake, he felt a tickling sensation on his chest. He opened his eyes to find Chloe curled up in his arms like a kitten, tracing circles on his chest with her finger. Even through his shirt, he could clearly feel the path of her finger. Chloe sensed he was awake. Her finger stopped, and she continued to feign sleep. It was only after Leo gently tapped her forehead that she opened her eyes. You're terrible. Leo didn't argue. He just held up his phone, pointing to the time. The doctor will be here soon. Hearing this, Chloe immediately sat up, hastily put on her jacket, and dashed into the bathroom. She ran her fingers through her hair in front of the mirror, and when she emerged, she was once again a poised and beautiful young woman. Don't you dare laugh. Chloe pouted, seeing Leo smirking at her. She spoke before he could. I have class this morning, so I'm leaving. You get some rest. With that, she made a leave. She'd spent the night here, and she could only imagine the teasing she'd get from her roommates. More importantly, it was morning, and Sophia would probably be coming soon. It wouldn't be good if Sophia saw her here. Leo knew exactly what she was thinking. He remembered her schedule. She didn't have a class this morning, but he didn't expose her lie. I should be discharged tomorrow. Let me know when your uncle is arriving, and I'll go with you to pick him up. Chloe nodded. Okay. When Chloe got back to her dorm, she was carrying 3 breakfast burritos, hoping to bribe her roommates, Yara and Stacy, into silence. Chloe, where were you last night? Sure enough, the moment she stepped through the door, Yara and Stacy cornered her. Chloe placed the breakfast on the table. If I told you I spent the night at the hospital, would you believe me? Stacy immediately circled her, concerned. Chloe, are you not feeling well? No, I'm fine. Chloe shook her head. Then we don't believe you. Chloe hadn't expected them to, anyway. Fine, don't believe me. Eat up before it gets cold. I'm going back to bed. Last night, she hadn't slept well. It wasn't that she didn't like being next to Leo. It was just that in the morning, Leo was very pokey. So embarrassing, she muttered to herself, pulling the covers over her head. Back in the hospital room, not long after Chloe left, Sophia arrived. Seeing Leo alone, she asked. Chloe left. Leo was baffled. Seeing his expression, Sophia threw up her hands and rolled her eyes. Last night, after we split up at the campus gate, I remembered I had something to tell her. I turned around and saw her walking back in this direction. Sophia sat down on the edge as she spoke. So, I didn't even say good night to you last night. She paused, then added softly, and you don't get any breakfast today. Leo stared at her dumbfounded. After a long moment, he said, You're so heartless. Sophia gave a playful smile. You have to be heartless to deal with a heartbreaker like you. Leo wasn't having it. He put an arm around her shoulder and pulled her closer. Tell me, how am I a heartbreaker? Whose heart did I break? As she got closer, Sophia sniffed the air, then immediately pulled away. Oh, so you two were culling last night, huh? She glanced at the pillow. Just as I thought. She plucked a long strand of hair from it. Leo's mind raced. Just as he came up with an explanation, he saw Sophia casually blow the hair away. Then she leaned back in, her lips close to his ear. Was it comfortable? Holding her while you slept? She whispered. Leo didn't answer right away. He seized the opportunity to pull her into a hug, mimicking her actions. He pressed his lips to her ear. You shouldn't be asking me. You should be asking her if it was comfortable being held by me. Sophia couldn't handle the tickling sensation. Her body went limp, but she remained stubborn. Why should I ask? I can just find out for myself. Then she added, You jerk. You're so bold with her, but so timid with me. Timid? That got under Leo's skin. His hand was just about to make a move to prove he wasn't timid at all when Sophia suddenly pulled away. Her eyes were wide, watching him warily. What do you think you're doing? She knew that if she hadn't moved just then, Leo's hand might have slipped right down the collar of her shirt. Sophia, come here. I'll show you whether I'm timid or not. At this, Sophia giggled. All right, I know you're not timid, okay? Leo rolled his eyes and decided to ignore her. This woman only knew how to tease him when he was at a disadvantage. Sooner or later, he was going to have to teach her a lesson. Seeing him looking down at his phone, not speaking to her, Sophia thought he was angry. She sat back down beside him. My dear. Leo still ignored her. Run. Go ahead and run again. Sophia knew Leo's petty side. Sometimes he could be very childish. Seeing that he wouldn't engage, she stopped talking. She just took his hand and slowly placed it over her own heart. Her heart was already racing, but she fought through the nervousness and said softly, My dear, don't be angry. Leo wasn't angry at all. He moved his hand to her face and gently pinched her cheek. You silly girl. Why are you so easy to trick? His tone was a mixture of affection and heartache. Sophia was still smiling sweetly. Because you're Leo, the Leo that I love. Leo fell silent. Her skin was so soft. The only downside was that the weather was getting colder and she was wearing too many layers. Leo hadn't told many people about his hospital stay. The 18-year-old version of him might have broadcasted his injury far and wide to get sympathy from his parents. But he was 19 now, and he felt the fewer people who knew, the better. He wasn't a kid anymore. He had to learn to bear things silently. Despite this, a lot of people showed up for his discharge. Besides Sophia and Chloe, there were Connor, Spike, and the others. To Leo's surprise, even Mr. Ho had someone send a gift over. After thanking everyone, Leo headed back to campus. The few days in the hospital had been a rare period of calm. Now that he was out, it was time to get busy. Neither Chloe nor Sophia was easy to support. It was like the old saying, even if someone says they don't mind you being poor, you can't actually be poor. My uncle gets in tomorrow afternoon. Are we going to pick him up? Sophia had a class today, so they parted ways at the campus gate. Chloe walked with Leo into the business school, chatting as they went. Ethan had already told Leo about this, but Leo still feigned surprise. So soon? It's my first time meeting your uncle. I've got no experience. Do you think I should get him a gift? Chloe held onto Leo's arm, her face beaming. It's the thought that counts. You don't need a gift. Besides, for a first meeting, he should be the one getting a gift for you. Toward the end, Chloe's voice grew quieter. The more she said it, the more it felt like she was bringing her boyfriend to meet her family. But this asshole Leo just wouldn't admit it. Chloe knew his reservations, which made her heart ache, but she couldn't say anything. That was exactly what Leo was waiting for her to say. You said it. Remember to remind your uncle. Chloe stared at him dumbfounded. How can you be so shameless? Leo placed his hand on her cheek and pinched it. It's pretty thick. The campus was bustling with people, including plenty of couples. But couples as openly flirtatious as Leo and Chloe in broad daylight were a rare sight. Most people at least waited until evening. Luckily, Leo had a thick skin. He didn't care what others thought. I'm heading back to my dorm. You want to come? Leo asked suddenly. Anywhere else was fine, but a men's dorm. No. Chloe refused decisively. If not, then why are you still here? Leo said, pointing to the men's dormitory building in front of them. He was usually the one walking Chloe back. It was a rare occasion for her to walk him. Even if it was unintentional, it was a good start. They were grown-ups now. They had to learn to go home on their own. After all, it wasn't like they lived together. If they did, he wouldn't mind. At Leo's words, Chloe realized that, without noticing, they had arrived at his dorm. Okay, you want to get dinner later? Now that they were back on campus, she naturally wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. But Leo shook his head, declining. I'm booked all day today. Some other time. Chloe knew Leo was busy. Although she was a little disappointed, she nodded. All right then. Just as Leo was about to turn and go upstairs, Chloe remembered something and called out to him. Leo, one more thing. Could you help me out? What's up? Leo looked confused. Chloe was asking him for help? That was strange. And she looked so embarrassed about it. What is it? Is it? Chloe looked down, too shy to say it. It's just, I didn't go back to the dorm last night, and the residential life committee found out. If they report it to the university, I might get a warning. The business school didn't usually do room checks, but if you got caught, there was nothing you could do. A university warning was a small matter. Chloe was more worried about her dad finding out. He would really come after Leo. She remembered Leo saying he was on good terms with the head of the committee or something, so she was hoping Leo could make this problem disappear. She had stayed out all night because of him, after all. Leo thought it was something serious. He breathed a sigh of relief and ruffled her soft hair. It's fine. I was going to see him anyway. You go on to class. Chloe left, looking back every few steps, her reluctance plain to see. She cherished every moment she could spend with Leo now. Ethan was too stubborn. Once he made a decision, it was nearly impossible to change his mind. Even though Leo said he wouldn't let her go, it wasn't that simple. If he had to offend her father for her sake, Chloe didn't dare to think about it. For years. It's only 4 years. If Leo knew what Chloe was thinking, he would have flicked her on the forehead. For years? How many 4 years does a person get in life? 4 years from now. I can't guarantee I'll even remember who Chloe Jiang is. Back in the dorm, the residents of 718 were all there. It was a 4-person room, but only the 3 of them, Shane, Mark, and Chad, were the original occupants. Leo was often away. They were used to it. They were surprised, but delighted to see him back. Leo, we were just about to call you. Take a look at this, Shane said, handing him a file folder. Connor got in touch with me. He's already been working on expanding the market to the other universities around here, but he's run into some difficulties. This is all the details. You want to take a look? Leo wasn't very interested. Limited by the technology of the time, the food delivery industry wasn't in its golden age yet. That was still a few years away. The reason he was doing this now was partly to get a head start, and partly to promote the future market at Mill District and boost the income of the vendors there. If their income increased, the retail spaces would be more valuable and the property value would rise. I'll talk to Connor about it. If we can't get into some places, we'll hold off for now and focus on maintaining the markets we have. The delivery service is just one aspect. The ultimate goal is to evolve it into a full-fledged food delivery platform. You guys can research that. Leo yawned. You guys just figured out. I've got a lot on my plate right now and can't think about much else. With that, he grabbed his toiletries and went to the bathroom. The antiseptic smell from the hospital was overwhelming. He planned to take a long shower and then sleep. When he woke up, he would go find Spike to talk about the Mill District project. If he didn't wake up today, it could wait. But before he slept, he made a call to Joel Hill from the Residential Life Committee. Leo, it's rare for you to call me. What's up? After the last incident, Joel was now incredibly grateful to Leo. Thanks to his help, the 718 Express delivery business was running smoothly. And of course, Joel was making a good chunk of change from it. Leo got straight to the point. Chloe Jiang didn't return to her dorm 2 nights ago and got written up. I need you to take care of it. The people who did the room checks were from the committee. This was a small matter for Joel. He agreed immediately. No problem. By the way, Leo, when are you free? I'd like to treat you to a meal. I still feel bad about what happened last time, and I've been wanting to apologize, but I haven't had the chance. Leo thought for a moment and agreed. Sure, but I'm busy for the next couple of days. It'll have to be next week. He would have more use for Joel in the future. Once the market opened and the delivery service officially launched, the biggest need would be for people willing to do the work. To cater to the students' budgets while ensuring the vendors' profits, the delivery fees couldn't be as high as they would be later. He had to consider cheap labor. And, to put it bluntly, the cheapest labor pool was the student body. After hanging up with Joel, Leo sent Chloe a text to let her know it was handled, then went to sleep. He woke up again in the evening. He checked the time, a little after 7, just in time for dinner. Want to get barbecue? He texted Sophia. He was meeting Chloe's uncle tomorrow, so tonight he would spend with Sophia. The hospital bed was uncomfortable. He had promised to take her to a big bed in a hotel room. Sophia was slow to text back. Usually she just called. Should I wait for you at your campus gate? Or are you coming to pick me up? Is there a third option? Leo asked. There can be, but aren't you afraid of being seen? Sophia chuckled. She rarely came to his campus, just as Chloe rarely went to hers. Do you think I'm afraid? Leo retorted. Sophia thought for a moment. All right then, I'll wait for you downstairs. Another silly girl, Leo thought with a sigh as he hung up. They were both so silly. It was great. When Leo got downstairs, Sophia was already there on one of the campus bikes he had deployed. Thanks to Laura Yin's efforts, over half the universities in the area now had them. It was all done as a charitable project under the Rush Sportswear name, and they had even received a commendation from the city. They got the advertising, they got the accolades, and they drove up foot traffic around the bike station outside the campus. A classic win-win-win. Giving me a ride? Sophia asked with a smile when she saw him. A beautiful girl appearing out of nowhere at the men's dorm was already a focal point. Who she was waiting for was even more intriguing. If I remember correctly, isn't that guy Leo White? Which Leo? The one who's with Chloe Jiang. Many people in this building had seen Leo. They recognized him instantly, but they were still in disbelief. It really is him, isn't it? But that girl isn't Chloe. A chorus of groans spread through the onlookers. No way. I have to post this on the forum and condemn this behavior. Maybe hold on. What if he and Chloe broke up? If so, then he's not doing anything wrong. No way. I saw him stroking Chloe's hair this morning. Right here, in this exact spot. Chloe needs to see his true colors. Leo, of course, had no idea he had become public enemy number one. Looking at the extra seat on the back of the bike, he felt a moment of bewilderment. Weren't they all removed? Sophia saw his confusion and smiled mischievously. I told Laura to leave a few with back seats. What could Leo do? Silly girls were a rare species. When you were lucky enough to find two, you had to spoil them. Hop on. You got it. The night air was a bit chilly. As Leo pedaled, he suddenly felt a warmth around his neck. Sophia, from somewhere, had produced a scarf and was tying it around him from behind. After she was done, she said nothing, just continued to sit sideways on the back, her arms wrapped around his waist, her face pressed against his back. She started to sing softly, and the conversation was waiting. So I was patiently waiting for the right time to say. When I say it, I mean it. Dashboard confessionals, hands down. Perfect. Perfect. Leo's heart felt sweet. But Justin Zhang was busy. He was the admin for the campus forum, and he spent most of his time online. Tonight, the forum had suddenly exploded with activity. He thought some major news had broken, but when he clicked, it was all about Leo. Justin immediately called Leo after seeing the posts, but the call wouldn't go through. Curious about the claims, he called his girlfriend, Stacy. Stacy, can I ask you something? Shoot. Stacy was doing a face mask, her phone on speaker. June and Yara looked up, confused. Just then, Chloe walked in from the balcony. What are you talking about? Stacy yelled into the phone. But Justin continued. Someone posted on the forum that they saw Leo getting all cozy with another girl in front of the men's dorm. It's causing a huge scene. Stacy quickly grabbed her phone and turned off the speaker, afraid Chloe would hear. But it was too late. Chloe's steps faltered. After a moment, she said faintly, Stacy, ask your boyfriend to help delete it. I'll treat you guys to dinner another time. Stacy numbly nodded and, after telling Justin, hung up. She looked at Chloe with concern. Chloe, are you okay? Chloe took a deep breath and shook her head. I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. At least, he's still trying to hide it from me, right? Chloe. Yara called out to her from the side. But Chloe just smiled faintly. Really, I'm fine. I'm going to bed. Yara and the others exchanged a look, their expressions complicated. After getting into bed, Chloe pulled out her phone, wanted to call Leo, but after thinking about it, she figured he would just lie to her. So she didn't bother. She just sent him 2 words. Good night. Leo, your phone just vibrated. Maybe from the cold wind, Sophia's hand had, at some point, found its way into Leo's jacket pocket. Feeling the phone buzz, she reminded him. Want to check it? You check it for me, Leo replied without thinking. At this hour, it was usually just a text from his provider telling him to top up his minutes. Sophia was more than happy to oblige. Oh my. Seeing who it was from, her tone became strange. It's from Chloe. Are you sure you want me to look? Leo parked the bike and turned to face her. Sophia. There's a monster in my phone. It eats people. Are you scared? Sophia burst out laughing, but she put on a mock horrified expression. Oh, I'm so scared. Here, you take it. You take it. Under normal circumstances, Chloe wouldn't text goodnight. She'd call, and she wouldn't hang up until he'd given her a wine in return. Even then, those calls wouldn't come until after 10. The timing was all wrong. Leo didn't have to think hard to figure out what had happened. It was his own fault for being too damn charming, a magnet for attention wherever he went. If he were just some nameless nobody, this kind of thing would never happen. He didn't dwell on it for long. His fingers flew across the keypad. Sleep? I was just about to ask you out for a late-night snack. Knowing Chloe, she'd find every excuse in the book not to come out after finding out he was with Sophia. This was just his subtle way of reassuring her. I'm still thinking of you. Sure enough, when Chloe saw the message, a good chunk of the gloom lifted from her heart. But she still replied, no, eating late makes you gain weight. Since she'd refused, Leo wasn't about to push it. If he did, he might actually convince her to come, and that would be a problem. Okay, you get some sleep then. Asshole. Heh. She was so worked up she made a typo. Leo chuckled, slipped the phone back into his pocket, and rode off campus. Approaching 8 p.m., the area outside the university was at its busiest. The bike return station was overflowing. The rack, which could hold hundreds of bikes, was nearly full. It was a spectacular sight. You're going to have to expand this, aren't you? Sophia said, clearly impressed. The market isn't even open yet. What's it going to be like when it is? She had never seen so many bikes neatly parked together. Leo was pondering the same thing. With the current level of technology, the free-floating bike share model of the future was impossible. They had to use this primitive station-based system. But that meant, as the number of bikes grew, space would become a major issue. So would labor. Many of the attendants had already quit, unable to handle the workload. And while there were plenty of applicants, high turnover in a position was never a good thing. We'll figure out later, Leo said dismissively. It was late. He brought her out, and she wanted to talk about work. What do you want to eat? I'll take you. Sophia had already eaten dinner. Her stomach was still full. She wouldn't have come out at all if Leo hadn't called. But his question made her light up. I want you to cook for me. Thinking back, it had been a long, long time since she'd had a meal cooked by Leo. Leo hadn't expected such an unreasonable request, but it suited his plans perfectly. It was 8 now. If they bought groceries, they'd be back by 9, wash everything by 10, and they'd be done eating around midnight, just in time to go to sleep. Perfect. Let's go. We'll get groceries. Sophia was shocked that he'd agreed so readily. The surprise outweighed her curiosity. She wasn't going to question it. Let's go. As Leo expected, the markets near the university were already closed. They checked several places, all dark. Sophia asked hesitantly, should we just forget it? After a pause, she added, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow? Tomorrow morning Leo had to meet with Spike. After that, he was picking up Chloe's uncle. He didn't have time. Besides, it was rare for Sophia to ask him for anything. He had to make it happen. No time like the present. It has to be today. But before Sophia could finish, Leo grabbed her hand. There's a vegetable patch not far from here. The area around the university was still relatively undeveloped. Many empty lots had been turned into gardens by local residents. It wasn't just now. It would be the same in the future. Give people a patch of land, and someone will always find a way to grow something on it. Is that okay? Sophia asked. Though she said it, Leo could see the look of anticipation in her eyes. But he figured she was a good girl with her own sense of propriety, so he wouldn't call her out on it. It's fine. We'll leave some money. We're not the type to just take things. Seeing him like this, Sophia's eyes curved into crescents. Have you done this before? Leo froze for a split second. No, he said, then added silently. Not in this city, anyway. Leo was a man of action. The vegetable patch was only a 10-minute walk away. There were no streetlights, and the area was pitch black. It wasn't quite so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, but it was close. His phone didn't have a flashlight, but the faint glow from the screen was just enough to make out the path ahead. Sophia had never experienced anything like this. Enveloped in darkness, her hand held tightly in Leo's. Her heart was beating much faster than usual. Leo suddenly stopped in front of her. Sophia didn't notice and walked right into him. Oof, she yelped, then immediately asked, what's wrong? But she didn't get a reply. He spun around, wrapped an arm around her waist, and lowered his head to look at her. Though he couldn't see her face clearly, he could smell her fresh, clean scent. It was so familiar. Sophia froze. She could feel the heat of his breath on her face. The moment his hand touched her waist, she reached up and hooked her arms around his neck. She leaned in and gave him a light peck on the lips. We should go back. Her heart was already racing. Now it was hammering against her ribs. Hey, go back? Back where? We're in the middle of nowhere. You really think you're going back? Leo smirked. A normal girl would be blushing, protesting playfully. But Sophia, here? I guess it's not out of the question. Saying this, she tilted her head up again. This time, it wasn't just a peck. It wasn't until she was breathless that she pulled away, gasping for air. This was what an experience looked like. She'd been so nervous during the kiss, she'd forgotten her nose could breathe. Leo wiped his lips. He wasn't sure whose saliva it was, But that wasn't what he was thinking about. It was sweet with a fresh scent. Who the hell brushes their teeth at night? Leo had always seen himself as the hunter. But in this moment, he was starting to have his doubts. A saying came to mind. The true hunter often appears as the prey. Before Sophia could catch her breath, Leo pinched her cheek. Sophia, tell me, are you plotting against me? Against me? The pinch was a little painful. She struggled free and rubbed her cheek. Was it that obvious? You figured it out? I'm plotting against you. To outsiders, Sophia had always been the gentle, quiet, scholarly type, a girl from a good family. But in front of Leo, especially after they got to know each other, she had completely changed. She had become a mischievous little pixie. I'm plotting for your whole life. Sophia buried her head in Leo's chest. A lifetime is enough. A lifetime is long, stretching out beyond the horizon. A lifetime is also short. The last goodbye could very well be the last time two people ever speak. Some people, once missed, are gone for good. Sophia's voice was soft, but her tone was unshakably firm. What I want is simple. I want you in my life for this entire lifetime. Lifetime. What you're plotting is too grand. I'll have to think about it. Leo teased. But before he could finish, Sophia grabbed him by the ear. Think about what? What? Are you feeling wronged? Sophia had a fierce side, too. It must have taken all her courage to say what she just did. And Leo was trying to weasel his way out of it. She wasn't having it. It didn't actually hurt. Her touch was gentle, considerate of his recent hospital stay. But Leo still surrendered. I'm done thinking. Once you're in a den of thieves, you don't think about getting out. But, though Sophia wanted to argue with him about what exactly constituted a den of thieves, the word but stopped her. But what? Leo's tone turned flippant, like he was joking. Can I bring one more person? The more the merrier. Silence. The surroundings fell quiet again, save for the occasional cry of a restless bird. It sounded desolate. Leo sensed something was wrong. He was about to say he was kidding, just to ease the tension. After all, there was plenty of time to work on this later. But Sophia spoke first. You really are an asshole. She turned away. Let's go back. Walking away, shielded by the darkness, Sophia sighed. When it came to Leo, it seemed she had never been able to say the word no. Leo knew that perhaps not answering was the best answer. At least she hadn't stormed off. There was still room to talk. He could have tried to sweet-talk her, to agree for now, just to make her happy tonight, and deal with the consequences later. But ultimately, he couldn't bring himself to do it. They returned to the streetlight-lit street, walking together in silence. But now Leo's one hand was carrying 2 heads of cabbage, while the other was in his pocket, held tightly by Sophia. What else do you want to eat? We could go into the city to buy something, Leo suggested, turning to look at her. She hadn't said a word since they left the field. The strange atmosphere was starting to make even him uncomfortable. Sophia glanced at him, pouting for the first time he could remember. She still didn't speak, just kept walking. Leo felt a strange movement in his palm. The little devil was tickling him. In Leo's mind, a newly renovated house should have a strong, unpleasant smell. But when they walked in, all he could smell was the fresh scent of winter plums. There were green plants everywhere, and a few plum branches stood out in a vase. Sophia finally let go of his hand and walked straight to the kitchen. A moment later, she came out with an apron and tossed it at him. Leo was dumbfounded. The move was so familiar. Sophia found a chair and sat down. What are you looking at? Get to it. By the way, I bought a fridge. It's in the kitchen. We could go pick out the rest of the furniture and appliances some other time. He couldn't detect any change in her tone. Maybe she had known his thoughts all along. Just cabbage? Leo asked, but Sophia's expression became unreadable. A half-smile played on her lips as she leaned in close. My dear, she purred, I want spicy chicken. Leo was completely lost, but Sophia didn't explain. She just took his hand and led him into the kitchen. The living room and bedroom were empty, but the kitchen was fully equipped. Sophia had been buying things bit by bit. The biggest item was the refrigerator. Sophia brought Leo to it and opened the door. Leo was speechless. He looked at the cabbage in his hand, then at the jam-packed refrigerator. Saw him a clown. Sophia couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. Leo shot her a look. Why didn't you say so earlier? Sophia threw up her hands. You never asked, and you were the one who suggested going tomorrow. I was just saying. Listening to Sophia's excuses, Leo was both exasperated and charmed. Sophia, you become a bad girl. Sophia didn't get angry at all. She looked at him with a beaming smile. And do you like it? She gave him a playful wink. I like it, but you still have to peel the garlic. Leo started taking vegetables out of the fridge and looking for spices. Garlic? Sophia repeated. She went to a corner of the fridge and pulled out a container. Here. She handed it to him, her voice tinged with a sour note. Chloe peeled it. Seeing the massive container of garlic, Leo was puzzled. It wasn't like they were opening a hot pot restaurant. Who prepares this much garlic? But when he heard Chloe had peeled it, he understood instantly. In a kitchen, she was useless. The only thing she could do was peel garlic. It made sense she would overdo it. After all, she wanted to be helpful. By the time Leo finished cooking, it was almost 11. There was no table in the house, just 2 chairs. The perfect number. The food was set on the kitchen counter. It looked a bit humble, but it was cozy. Sophia was very satisfied with Leo's cooking. After she was full, she wiped her mouth. From now on, you cook. Leo rolled his eyes. And you? Me? Sophia pointed to herself and said matter-of-factly, I can buy the groceries and wash the vegetables, can't I? When Leo nodded, she added, and don't we need someone to do the dishes? Leo had been focused on eating. At her words, he turned his head sharply. It was Sophia who reached out and wiped a grain of rice from the corner of his mouth. Asshole, you have to remember, you promised me. This lifetime. Her eyes were as gentle as water, looking at him with an endless depth of affection. Sophia loved Leo. She loved him to her very bones. So, should we go buy a bed tomorrow? Leo asked after dinner, gesturing at the empty bedroom. We could, Sophia said, a sly smile playing on her lips. But I'd suggest you buy 3. I'm just saying. Otherwise, you might end up on the floor. Leo pretended not to understand. 3's fine. It's not like we can't afford it. Let's head out. It's freezing in here. Sophia let out a little laugh. See through it, but don't say it. She was happy with the dinner he'd made. She decided to let go of the fact that he'd insisted on seeing her ID earlier. Whoa, it's almost midnight, Leo said with exaggerated surprise as they neared the campus gates. The dorms are definitely locked down by now. We can't get back in. Sophia just watched him, her expression unreadable. So, Leo threw his hands up in a gesture of helplessness. So we'll have to get a room. He patted his pockets. Shoot, I think I forgot my wallet. Can I borrow your ID? Sophia shot him a look and muttered, jerk, but she was already turning to lead the way. Let's go. The area around the university was packed with restaurants and, by extension, motels. At this hour, the streets were quiet, but the motels were still buzzing with activity. The budget-friendly places weren't known for their soundproofing. In the worst of them, you could hear them from the room next door. Leo did his best to find one that at least looked decent from the outside, but once they were in the lobby, he realized it was all just for show. At some point, Sophia had taken the scarf from around Leo's neck and wrapped it around her own, pulling it up to cover half her face. She was still shy, he realized. Even though this wasn't their first time in a motel together, this time was different. This time it was for real. One room. Fortunately, the clerk at the front desk had seen it all. He barely glanced at them. $50 deposit. You get it back at checkout. Leo knew the drill. He took the key card, and they headed upstairs. Before they even reached the room, Sophia's face was already flushed. The sounds from the other rooms, faint thuds and muffled voices, were a little too clear. The moment they were inside, she dived onto the bed and buried her head under a pillow. She couldn't bear to look at him. Leo quietly came up behind her and lay down, gently playing with a strand of her hair. The silk of it wrapped around his finger. It felt good. After a minute, Sophia calmed down. She peeked out, her eyes meeting his. I need to take a shower. Okay, and don't you dare peek. Leo almost burst out laughing. The thought hadn't even crossed my mind until you said that. No, you can't. Sophia's voice was almost a whimper. Alone in a room with him, her usual composure had completely vanished. She was, after all, just a girl. Leo knew not to push his luck. I won't peek, all right? Okay. She nodded, satisfied. His verbal promise was enough. She sat up abruptly and pressed her hands to her cheeks. They were burning. When Sophia came out of the bathroom, she was still wearing her heavy winter coat, a bundle of clothes clutched in her hands. She wouldn't look at Leo. She placed the clothes on a nightstand, dove straight under the covers, and hid her head again. Leo just smiled and went to take his own shower. Hearing the water run, Sophia pulled the covers down just enough to reveal her eyes. She stared at the bathroom door, lost in thought. When the water stopped, her eyes snapped shut. Now was a good time to pretend to be asleep. Seeing this, Leo moved as quietly as he could, trying not to make a sound that might startle her. He turned off the light and got into bed. He hadn't even made a move when Sophia shifted, burrowing into his arms. Weren't you asleep? He teased. I'm awake now. Is that a problem? She placed her hand on his face, gently tracing his features. Darling? Where? Where's your hand going? Her voice trembled. Leo had never been one to behave himself. He replied with a smug satisfaction. It has its own pursuits and aspirations. Mind your own business. Even through her thick coat, he could tell there was nothing else underneath. It was exquisite. Sophia sounded like she was on the verge of tears, but she didn't stop him. It felt like this was how it was supposed to be. Otherwise, why would she have woken up? But that was as far as it went. When Leo's hand started to wander further, she caught it. Leo, she murmured, a plea in her voice. I'm sleepy. I want to sleep. Can you just hold me? He stopped. Just as she asked, he wrapped his arms around her. She snuggled deeper into his embrace. Good night, darling. A moment later, Leo went still. Sophia's breathing grew steady and even. Just as he thought she was truly asleep, she whispered again. I'm not leaving. As long as you don't push me away, I'll never leave. I love you so much, you jerk. But I'm a little scared. Can you just give me some time? For a girl to give him this much, Leo was more than satisfied. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Silly girl, talking in your sleep. I'd never have the heart to push you away. You're stuck with me. A sweet smile spread across Sophia's face, and then she was truly asleep. She was terrified, but her love for Leo had conquered her fear. If he had really decided to do something, she knew she probably couldn't have stopped him. From the moment she'd handed him her ID, she had been prepared. But when it came down to it, she was still scared. Thankfully, the person she was with was Leo. He cared about her feelings. She was asleep, but Leo was wide awake. Definitely bigger, he thought to himself, a silent, internal comparison making him grin. That wasn't the main reason he couldn't sleep, though. The main reason was the room next door. They were getting pretty intense. The next morning, Leo groggily opened his eyes and was instantly wide awake. In morning, Sophia, already fully dressed, was lying on her stomach, propped up on her elbows, just watching him. She didn't say good morning back. She just stared. This time, she said, her voice serious, you really have to take responsibility for me. He remembered the first time she'd said that, in the Rush office after he'd kissed her. His response then had been for her to kiss him back, so would they be even? A classic jerk move. But this time, Leo nodded with complete sincerity. Deal. I officially grant you permission to be stuck with me for life. Sophia beamed, clearly satisfied with his answer. Okay, now get up. Leo yawned. A beautiful woman in his arms. Even without a night of passion, he was content. This was a good start. From here on, things would only get better. Give me a hug, and I'll get up. Seeing his childish demand, Sophia's eyes filled with affection. She leaned over to hug him, but in one swift motion, he flipped over, pulling her on top of him. Hey! A few moments later, a flustered Sophia scrambled off the bed, her face bright red. Leo stood up, stretched contentedly, and wiped his lips with his finger. After dropping Sophia off at campus, Leo drove straight to the temporary site office for the market at Mill District. Spike and Hanky were already there waiting for him. The office was just a double-wide trailer plunked down on the edge of the construction site. When Leo had acquired Hank's company, he'd gotten their downtown office building in the deal, but it was too far away to be practical for managing this project. He'd insisted Hank set up a temporary base of operations here. Leo was still grateful to Ethan Jiang for the tip about the acquisition. For only a few million, he'd gotten a solid construction company. Forget the future profits. The 10-story office building in the city would pay for the investment in a few years, with plenty left over. He wasn't particularly interested in the construction industry long-term. If it hadn't been for the Mill District redevelopment and the support from Mr. Ho, he never would have touched it. Even now, he had his reservations. He knew that developing property in this era was a goldmine, but the potential headaches ran deep. Leo, Mr. White. Inside the Spartan conference room, Spike and Hank stopped their discussion the moment he walked in, standing up to greet him. Leo sat down at the head of the table, not wasting any time. You said on the phone there was a problem with the bid. What's going on? Spike had called him last night, but he'd been with Sophia and had told him they'd talk in the morning. Spike handed him a folder. See for yourself. Apex Construction is also in the running, and from the looks of it, they're determined to get this project. The most critical part is they're tight with the Hanlon Group. Our pre-qualification was rejected. They said the paperwork was incomplete. I asked around, and a lot of other firms got the same story. Right now, the only companies that have successfully submitted a bid have some connection to Hanlon. Leo flipped through the documents. He wasn't surprised. If everything went smoothly, that would be the real shock. It was always like this. It's not the king I have to worry about. It's the gatekeepers. For me, our paperwork is solid, right? Hank spoke up, thumping his chest with confidence. I can guarantee it, Mr. White. There's not a single issue. The submission deadline is still a few days away. Let's not rush. We can wait, Leo said calmly. If the paperwork was fine, then it was a people problem, and those were easier to solve. He had no intention of calling Mr. Ho. If he had to run to him for every little thing, he'd look useless. Let's put that aside for now, Leo said, then remembered something else. By the way, when can we expect the market to be ready for its final inspection? Before, Leo had been the client, constantly pushing for progress. Now, he was pushing himself. A month at the earliest, 2 at the latest for final handover, Hank said. He knew how important this project was to Leo and had been pushing the schedule hard while maintaining quality. The pace was already breakneck. Leo believed in letting professionals do their jobs. He had no intention of micromanaging Hank's company, as long as they met the deadlines he set. Leo. Spike called out as Leo was about to leave. Yeah. Leo turned, looking at him curiously. Kalyan told me there's still 1 or 2 families in the Mill District who refuse to move. They're asking for way too much. We can't meet their price. Leo shrugged. We haven't even secured the bid yet. Why worry about them? If we can't meet their price, we can't meet their price. Demolition projects always came with drama. The world was full of good people, but there were always a few who were just plain greedy. Spike nodded, understanding. As he left, Leo glanced back at the market. Not long ago, this had been a wasteland. Now, surrounding the construction site, a small park was taking shape, dotted with newly planted trees and flowers. Not many flowers bloomed in December, but the scent of winter sweet was unmistakable. Dozens of the shrubs formed a small grove, their fragrance carrying on the breeze. He saw plenty of people admiring the flowers and taking pictures. A few were even picking them, but not many. College students were generally better behaved. Walking along the path, Leo pulled out his phone and called Connor's son. Connor, I need you to do me a favor. Leo didn't have many people he could rely on. Besides Spike and Laura Ian, Connor was the first person who came to mind. His family had deep connections in the region, which made him perfect for this kind of work. Connor had been there when Leo was discharged from a hospital, but it had been too crowded to talk. He just said a quick hello and left. When he heard Leo was just off campus, he came right over. You did all this, didn't you? Connor said, gesturing to the park as they sat on a bench opposite the winter sweet grove. Not bad at all. You like it? Leo asked without looking at him. Connor paused for a second, then rubbed his hands together with a sly grin. Of course I like it. Don't get me wrong, I like the land. Once your market opens, this plot is going to be worth a fortune. His family was in real estate, and Connor had a sharp eye for these things. As long as you hold on to this land and don't develop it, the market will have a monopoly on the area. That makes it even more valuable. That had been Leo's thinking exactly when he acquired the land, but now he countered, do I look that shallow to you? I just happen to like flowers and trees. By the way, what do you think about putting a condom vending machine over there once the weather warms up? Connor was stunned by the idea. When he recovered, he gave Leo a thumbs up. If you don't get rich, there's no justice in the world. All right, enough joking around. What did you need me for? Who said I was joking? Leo replied, his face perfectly straight. Connor was momentarily thrown. We'll talk about that later, Leo said, changing the subject. I'm running into some trouble with the Mill District bid. Someone's intentionally blocking us. Talk to your dad. See if he can help figure out a way past it. Once we get through this gate, the rest should be easy. Connor didn't hesitate. Done. By the way, when are you free? Holly, and I want to take you out to dinner. Leo had almost forgotten. He technically had a new stepsister. Tomorrow noon. Campus food court. Be there or be square. That's it. Connor said, incredulous. We should at least go to the Golden Swan. I can afford it. Leo shook his head. The food court. I can eat and run. It's more convenient. I have to go set a trap for someone, and it's going to take up some time. Who? Connor asked, confused. Who could be so important? A meaningful smile touched Leo's lips. A real benefactor. A very kind person who almost set me up for life with Chloe. Just before noon, Leo was waiting outside Chloe's classroom before her lecture ended. The moment he appeared, he saw students inside pointing and whispering. If it weren't for the old professor holding court at the front, some of them probably would have marched out and spit in his face. Plenty of people had seen him and Sophia acting close outside the men's dorm last night. The university forums had exploded. Justin Zhang had tried his best to delete the threads, but new ones were popping up faster than he could take them down. All day, people had been going up to Chloe to offer their sympathies. But what infuriated them even more was her reaction. No matter what anyone said, she just kept smiling and saying she trusted Leo. Even when someone showed her a photo, she played dumb and said it didn't look like him. The whole thing only deepened their resentment toward Leo. They couldn't figure out what kind of spell he had cast on her. Seeing him dare to show his face at her classroom door sent them into a rage. "Chloe, he's here," Stacy Dong whispered, nudging her. Chloe quickly turned her head and saw Leo's infuriatingly charming smile. She pouted as if to say, "I'm still mad at you. Mad that you actually believed I went to sleep at 7. Leo was a little confused, but chalked it up to a guilty conscience. He held up the branch of wintersweet in his hand and mouthed, "For you." That seemed to soften her a bit. When the lecture ended, a wave of her classmates stormed out before she did. They shot him looks of pure contempt as they passed. A few of the bolder ones started in with the sarcasm. "Well, look who it is. Leo, I bet you picked that wintersweet from the park outside, didn't you? Looks like it. Some people have no class. Such a beautiful grove, and people like him have to go and ruin it. Seriously, I don't know what Chloe sees in him." "I know, right?" They showed her the pictures, and she still denied it was him. "If I had a girl like that, I'd give her my own ribs for soup. I'd never let her get hurt." The chatter grew louder as more people joined in. Leo hadn't planned on engaging, but staying silent would make him look guilty. "All right, you guys like that wintersweet grove so much," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. "How about I sell it to you? It's not expensive. A few million, maybe." His words stunned them into silence. What did he mean? The grove was his? The silence was immediately replaced by an even louder uproar. They all thought he was bluffing, taking his lies too far. Just then, another group of students approached. By sheer coincidence, Leo knew them all. The girl in the lead even greeted him. "Leo, what are you doing here instead of in class?" "Oh, waiting for Chloe." "That explains it. It was Holly one. By the way, I heard you funded that whole little park outside the school. The wintersweet grove is amazing. You have great taste." Holly's words left everyone around them dumbfounded. They stared at Leo in shock, wondering if they'd misheard. Could he have actually built that park? Did he have that kind of money? Who would believe that? But then Holly added, "Did you build it just for Chloe?" At that exact moment, Chloe emerged from the classroom. She heard Holly's last two sentences perfectly. She knew the park was Leo's, but she'd never asked him why he decided to build it. With the subject of their gossip now present, the crowd quickly dispersed, their footsteps hurried, and their mouths shut tight. Holly's words were too stunning. Building a park specifically for Chloe? What kind of person did that? Who wouldn't fall for that? They were all deeply skeptical, and some even planned to investigate. If it wasn't true, Leo would be a laughingstock. Holly winked at Leo. "You can thank me later," her expression said. Her business class was in the same building, but her classroom was farther down the hall. She had been heading to the cafeteria with her roommates when she saw the crowd, giving Leo a hard time. She knew exactly what it was about. After all, Leo was in their department, and the forum drama was impossible to miss. Leo rolled his eyes. "Yeah, thanks a lot. You're welcome. I gotta go, see ya." And with that, Holly turned and walked away. Leo watched her go, wondering how he could give her the gifts he'd planned without giving her the wrong idea. If he just handed them to her, she might think he was interested in her, and that would scare her off. "She's gone. Are you still going to stare?" Chloe grumbled, pouting. Even though she knew there was nothing between Leo and Holly beyond being classmates, she still felt a pang of jealousy. Leo pulled his gaze back and offered her the wintersweet. "It smells amazing." Chloe had already seen it. She took the branch and held it to her nose. You didn't really pick this from the park, did you? Do you like it?" Leo's non-answer was a tacit admission. He'd run into the park's groundskeeper earlier and had simply asked for a cutting. The man recognized his boss and had promptly snipped off the most beautiful blooming branch for him. "I love it." Chloe's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. "But maybe you shouldn't do it again. It's not right." But Leo just said with an air of absolute authority, "What's not right about it? That whole park was built for you. The flowers in it are meant for you. There's only wintersweet in the winter, so you'll have to make do for now. But come spring, I'll give you a whole valley of flowers." Chloe stared at him, stunned. Her eyes started to well up. She'd received countless gifts. Ethan had prepared so many surprises for her. But nothing had ever felt so sweet, so heartfelt. "Jerk," she choked out, then threw herself into his arms. "Wah, you just wanted to make me cry, didn't you?" She was really crying now, not out of sadness, but out of pure, overwhelming happiness. "I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. You're the worst." Leo gently patted her back. All right, people are watching." But she just buried her face deeper into his chest. "I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Let them watch, let them laugh. I just don't care." Leo sighed. From this day on, if anyone dared to suggest he'd bought that land to make money, he'd fight them. It was for romance. Didn't they understand romance? Chloe was absolutely smitten with the wintersweet branch. After placing it carefully in the Land Rover, she grabbed Leo's hand and pulled him toward the little park. She was already planning which flowers would go where. "Isn't your uncle arriving soon? Shouldn't we go pick him up?" Leo said, glancing at his watch. It was after 12. "He called," Chloe said. "He told us not to come. He's having dinner with some friends tonight, and said we should just join them then. You couldn't have told me sooner." The only reason Leo had come to find her at noon was because he'd promised to go with her to pick up her uncle. He was actually eager to meet this esteemed relative. A playful glint appeared in Chloe's eyes. "If I had told you, would you still have come to find me?" Leo felt a flush of guilt, but still said, bullheadedly, "Of course I would have. Why wouldn't I?" Though she knew he was probably lying, Chloe chose to believe him. Not wanting to dwell on it, she quickly changed the subject. "Leo, don't you think the trees they transplanted over there are a little too dense? It doesn't look very nice." He followed her gaze to a small grove. He had specifically requested it be planted that way. He'd even given it a name, the grove. The plan was to install a vending machine nearby, but there was no need to tell Chloe that just yet. "It is a little dense," he agreed. "Maybe we should plant even more? Like one of those cornfields in the country." At first, Chloe didn't get it. Then, after a moment's thought, she balled her fist and playfully punched his arm. "You really are a bad guy. You have no good intentions." Leo caught her fist. "Whatever you say." He held her hand, tucking it into his own coat pocket, then suddenly remembered something. "By the way, you know how to wash dishes, right?" Chloe looked at him, completely bewildered. She had no idea why he was asking that, but she answered anyway. "Who are you looking down on? Of course I can do that." Leo looked immensely pleased. "Good. That's enough." He had someone to buy and wash the vegetables, someone to cook, and now someone to wash the dishes. The future was bright. Seeing his wicked, self-satisfied grin, Chloe grew suspicious. "You're not thinking of making me wash dishes for you, are you?" To her astonishment, Leo actually nodded. He even had the audacity to look completely justified. "What? You can't? Is it beneath you? Why don't you try refusing? See if I'll let you." Chloe pouted, turning her head away haughtily. "Why would I refuse? What if I like washing dishes?" Seeing her adorable stubbornness, Leo's gaze softened. "Silly little fool. One big fool, one little fool. Life was good. Little fool, what do you want for lunch?" Leo hadn't eaten breakfast, and his stomach was starting to growl. Since they weren't picking up her uncle, they needed to sort out food. Chloe was still wandering through the park, a notepad and pen in hand, making notes as she went. When she heard Leo call her little fool, she felt a tiny flash of annoyance, but it was quickly overwhelmed by a feeling of sweetness. She didn't correct him. How about the cafeteria? It was the only place she could think of. Just as Leo was about to agree, she remembered something. "Wait, why don't we go back and cook? Sophia bought a lot of groceries. If we don't eat them soon, they'll go bad." She added, "And I peeled a lot of garlic." Leo froze. He stared at her, not even blinking. "What? Is that not okay?" He shook his head. "Can you cook? I can wash dishes," Chloe replied, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "Fine." Leo didn't say another word. Off they went. "Leo, where's the garlic I peeled? Leo, why has this bowl been used? Leo, you jerk." From a residential building not far from the university, a series of shouts could be heard. The voice was beautiful, but it was laced with pure, unadulterated fury. Before meeting Chloe's uncle, Leo had imagined what he'd look like. Probably something like his own uncle, Carl, shifty-eyed, pudgy, clearly not a good person. But when he finally saw the man in person, he realized how shallow he'd been. There was a term for it, a wolf in sheep's clothing. A cultured scoundrel. That was him. He wore rimless glasses and a tailored suit. Though he was in his 40s, he still looked youthful. A Rolex gleamed on his wrist, clearly expensive. A man like this would never go hungry on looks alone. It made sense. Chloe was beautiful, so her parents' genes had to be good. Though Leo had never met her mother, Chloe had mentioned she was even prettier than her. Even if that was an exaggeration, it couldn't be far from the truth. So it was only natural that her uncle would be handsome as well. "Chloe, it's been months. You're more beautiful than ever," the man said. "And you must be young Leo." In front of her elders, Chloe was always well-behaved. She smiled sweetly. "Uncle Richard, this is Leo." She kept her arm linked with Leo's, giving his arm a little squeeze to signal it was his turn to speak. "Hello, Mr. Chien." On the way over, Chloe had told him her uncle's full name was Richard Chien. Even though they were enemies meeting for the first time, Leo was remarkably calm. His expression betrayed nothing. Richard Chien smiled benevolently, like a kind elder. He called over his assistant and took a gift box from her. "Leo, a small gift for our first meeting. I hope you like it." Leo accepted it without any pretense of refusal. A gift from you, Uncle Richard. Of course I'll like it. Good, good. After the pleasantries, Richard continued. You two have a seat. I have a few more friends coming. I'll go greet them. Okay, Uncle. You go ahead. Don't worry about us, Chloe replied quickly. Leo chimed in. That's right, Mr. Chien. You take care of your business. I'll be sure to toast you at dinner. Haha, good. In that case, I'll have to test your tolerance later, young man. With that, he headed for the door. Once he was gone, Leo casually placed the gift box on the floor. He couldn't care less about it. Leo, my uncle can really drink. Go easy later, Chloe reminded him quietly. Leo smiled at her, then reached out and gently ruffled her hair. Chloe, tell me something. That night, if I hadn't controlled myself and had done something to you, what would you have done? That night, Chloe knew exactly which one he meant. I don't know. At that time, they hadn't been nearly as close as they were now. But she didn't need to say it. Leo already knew. He lived through it once. Silly girl. If I get drunk later, you have to help me get out of here, okay? Before Richard Chien had even arrived, Ethan Jiang had already given Leo the full rundown on him. He was here to find a suitable location to build a new factory. The garment factory he'd acquired in their hometown was just an entry ticket to secure a partnership with a foreign investor. But that factory was too small to meet production demands. To keep the deal moving forward, he had to build a new one. Fortunately, the investors had given him time. After waiting for a while, Richard returned, laughing and chatting with a group of men. They were all momentarily surprised to see Leo and Chloe, not expecting to find younger people there. Richard quickly made the introductions. This is my sister's husband's daughter, Chloe Jiang. And that is her. He trailed off awkwardly, unsure how to introduce Leo. He'd left in such a hurry earlier that he hadn't had time to ask about their relationship. He guessed they were dating, especially since Ethan seemed to have accepted it. But he couldn't just assume. Leo calmly took Chloe's hand and held it up for them all to see. He didn't explain. He let them figure out. Hello, gentlemen. I'm Leo White. You could just call me Leo. Chloe's heart fluttered as Leo held her hand. Just then, she heard a surprised voice from the group. Leo White. Someone recognized the name. After a moment of thought, he asked, Are you the Leo White from Rush Sportswear? Now everyone was shocked. Rush was on a meteoric rise, fueled by a massive marketing budget. The brand was becoming a household name in the country. A few of the men in the room were in related industries, and they knew exactly how much weight that name carried. They were named Leo White, but the reason they were so certain was the girl standing next to him. Rush's origin story had been studied by many. Aside from its genius marketing tactics, there was another crucial element. Ethan Jiang's help. It was fair to say that without Ethan opening doors for him, never made it out of their home state. They had always wondered why Ethan would help Rush. Now, seeing this connection, it all made sense. Mr. White, it's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. Richard, you old dog. You didn't tell us Mr. White would be here. It was always like this at the dinner table. If they hadn't known who Leo was, they would have followed Richard's lead and called him Leo, maybe offered some patronizing words of encouragement about his studies. But now, they couldn't bring themselves to do it. Richard just laughed. I wanted it to be a surprise. Besides, Leo is a very low-key person. He just wants to finish his studies quietly. Not only is Mr. White young and successful, he's so cultured. Not like us common folk. A man flattered, handing Leo a business card. Mr. White, I'm the polyester business. I hope you'll consider us in the future. Leo gave a modest laugh. You're too kind. I was just lucky. If I ever have a need in that area, you'll be the first person I call. After they were introduced, another man came over and clapped the first one on the shoulder, chiding him playfully. Hey now, Jean, what's the big idea? We're here tonight to welcome Richard and strengthen our friendships, and you're already trying to make a deal? Leo had glanced at the card. The man's name was Zhang Ji, and he was in the cotton textile business. Richard had likely invited him with an eye toward future production. After another round of pleasantries, Richard's final guest arrived late. Sorry for making you all wait. I'll drink 3 penalty shots later. The room filled with a chorus of insincere laughter. Mr. Xin, you finally made it. We couldn't even order the food without you. This Mr. Xin draped his coat over the back of his chair and sat down. I've been so busy with the bidding for that project over there, just one thing after another. If it weren't for Richard and all of you here, I wouldn't have come at all. Someone immediately started sucking up. Mr. Xin is a man who handles big projects. It's normal to be busy. By the way, about that mill district redevelopment, the materials, could you possibly consider your little brother? The moment Leo saw this man, he recognized him. The CEO of Apex Construction, Mr. Xin. He was also a bidder for the mill district project. Leo had made a point of looking into him. He was very close with the Hanlon group. Richard surely knew that Ethan Jiang and the Hanlon group were mortal enemies. Inviting him to an occasion like this, it was intriguing. Richard must have assumed that he and Chloe were unaware of the complex relationships between them, which was why he was so brazen. Richard, and who is this? Mr. Xian's eyes flashed with surprise as he looked at Chloe. He was nearly 50, but his lecherous gaze was still repulsive. Chloe didn't like it either, her brow furrowing slightly. Richard quickly introduced her. My niece, Chloe Jiang. Oh, Mr. Xian said, surprised. So this is the great Miss Jiang. No wonder you're so beautiful. Richard laughed. You flatter her, Mr. Xian. Chloe, say hello to Uncle Xian. Though Chloe was clearly uncomfortable, she was about to speak out of respect for Richard. But Leo saw it, and he'd heard that this Mr. Xian was not a good person. He had a reputation for preying on young college students. He cut in before Chloe could speak. Mr. Xian, my apologies. Chloe has a sore throat today. Her voice is a little hoarse. Mr. Xian gave Leo a strange look, but didn't press the issue. He just shot Richard a questioning glance. Who is this kid? Richard shook his head slightly, signaling he'd explain later. The dinner progressed with endless toasts and courses, a transactional dance of exchanging favors and forging alliances. Though everyone wore a smile, only they knew how much of it was genuine. From the beginning, Leo had been wondering why Richard would invite him and Chloe to this kind of dinner. The more he couldn't figure it out, the more he wanted to know. He paid extra close attention to Richard. Richard and Mr. Xian spoke frequently. After Mr. Xian took a call, Leo overheard them whispering something about the second son arriving. A moment later, Richard stood up with his glass and toasted everyone. I'm just going to use the restroom. I'll be right back. Of course, Richard. We'll be waiting for you. Not long after Richard left, Mr. Xian followed him out. Leo pulled out his phone and sent a text to Gabby Xian. Follow them. See where they go. Once bitten, twice shy. He had no intention of making the same mistake twice. He wasn't malicious, but he wasn't naive either. He had asked Spike to have people in place before he even arrived. About 10 minutes later, Richard and Mr. Xian returned, and the room became lively again. Richard, that was a long bathroom break. Cleared everything out, have you? Let's keep drinking. Chloe was starting to hate the atmosphere. She leaned against Leo. When are we leaving? Just as Leo was about to comfort her, his phone vibrated. He picked it up and saw a message from Gabby. Chloe's in danger. We need to talk. In person. Leo read the message and immediately deleted it. Just then, Chloe looked up at him, pouting. Who was that texting you? And you deleted it so I couldn't see. A pretty girl, Leo said, sliding the phone into his pocket. That made Chloe even more upset. She stared at him with wide, teary eyes, a picture of pitiful charm. You're such a fool. I'm kidding, Leo said, unable to stand her expression. He reached out and gently tapped her nose. The affectionate gesture made her a little better. But then Leo leaned in and whispered in her ear, Is your stomach bothering you? Chloe looked confused. No, but when she saw Leo's gaze shift toward Richard and the others, she immediately understood. Yeah, women were natural actresses. Uncle, my stomach is suddenly really hurting, she said, her voice full of concern. I think I need to head back. Richard's face filled with worry. Should I take you to the hospital? Chloe waved her hand. You have things to do. Please don't worry. It's just an upset stomach. Leo can take me. Seeing this, Richard couldn't press the issue. He could only turn to Leo. Leo, I'm entrusting Chloe to you. You have to take good care of her. Of course, Uncle. Don't worry, Leo promised readily. He took Chloe's hand and led her toward the door. If it were his own party, he would have stayed for a final toast, but he didn't know these people and felt no obligation. As he left, he casually scooped up the gift box Richard had given him. Once they were outside the hotel, Chloe dropped the act. She linked her arm with his and said cheerfully, Leo, where are we going next? Leo was still thinking about Gabby's text. Meet to talk. That meant it wasn't something she could say over the phone, but it also meant there was no immediate danger tonight. He knew Chloe wanted him to spend more time with her, but he couldn't. He wouldn't be able to relax until he got to the bottom of this. I'll take you back to school first. I have something to take care of, he said gently. Chloe looked up at him, and after a long moment, she said, Then you have to promise me you're not going to see that pretty girl who texted you. Even though Leo said he was joking, Chloe wasn't that easy to fool. Why would he delete a normal text message? I promise. Seeing that she still looked skeptical, he added, If I'm lying, I'm a dog. How's that? Chloe had been fine, but hearing that, she puffed out her cheeks. Leo, you're trying to trick me. Leo looked bewildered. When did Chloe get so smart? You already admitted you were a dog before. He blinked, his face a mask of innocence. I did. Wait, I think I did. He quickly changed the subject. Are you coming or not? Give me a straight answer. Chloe pouted. She was still mad, but she nodded. Fine. After dropping Chloe off at the university, Leo wasted no time and went straight to the Galaxy Gaming Lounge. Gabby was already there. It was after 9, but the place was still packed. Leo pushed through the crowd to the office. Not only was Gabby there, but Spike and Gabe Xian were also sitting on the couch. They all stood up when he walked in. Leo. Leo nodded, then turned to Gabby. What did they say? Gabby took a small recording pin out of her bag and handed it to him. Leo, you should listen to this first. As he took it, she added, after that Richard guy came out, I found a chance to slip this into his pocket. The two of them went into another private room and talked with someone in there for a long time before coming out. I couldn't get in. Leo understood. Just slipping the recorder into his pocket and getting it back without being noticed was impressive enough. Thank you. I appreciate it. Gabby waved her hand, flustered by the praise. It was nothing. We're the ones who should be thanking you. Spike had lent them the money from the lounge to handle their emergency, a sum they could never have repaid. But Leo had simply forgiven the debt. They would never forget that kindness. Leo didn't dwell on it. He pressed play on the recorder. Young Master Zhao, you saw her for yourself. Chloe is truly beautiful. Richard's voice was low, but it oozed a kind of rotten stench. The very first sentence made Leo's brow furrow. He pressed pause and looked at Spike and Gabe. Have you guys heard this? Spike shook his head. No, Gabby only took it out when you got here. Leo looked at Gabby, and after she nodded, he said, you two should step out for a minute. Spike understood. He led Gabe out of the office, closing the door behind him. Leo sat down and pressed play again. Beautiful, very beautiful. So what's your plan? The second voice was familiar. Leo felt like he'd heard it somewhere before, but couldn't place it. Then, Richard let out a wicked laugh. The guy with her, Leo White, he's the owner of Rush Sportswear. Rush has completely saturated the market now. The future looks very promising. Rush, young Master Zhao repeated. What a small world. What, do you have some history with Rush? Richard asked curiously. You don't need to know about that, young Master Zhao said. From what I know, Rush has powerful backing. Are you sure this won't be a problem? Richard seemed a bit confused, not understanding what he meant by powerful backing, but he didn't get stuck on it. If Leo White brings about his own destruction, what good is his backing? Think about it. Leo White, so desperate for Rush's success that he resorts to sucking up to the powerful, drugging his own girlfriend and offering her up. It sounds plausible, doesn't it? As for who the powerful man is, that doesn't matter. It could be you, it could be him. Crash. Leo swept the glass cup off the desk, shattering it on the floor. Gabby, standing by the wall, jumped at the sound, her heart pounding. That son of a bitch is an animal. Leo spat. After the outburst, a wave of relief washed over him. Thank God. Thank God nothing has happened yet. He didn't care what Richard did to him. That was business. But bringing Chloe into it, that was different. Richard's plan was despicable, but effective. If it succeeded, it would not only ruin Chloe's reputation, forcing her to leave the country and give up her inheritance of the Jiang Corporation, but it would also frame Leo. With a little maneuvering, it wouldn't be impossible for them to take control of Rush. And through it all, he would curry favor with this young Master Zhao. 3 birds with 1 stone. A very profitable venture. His conscience? Could a conscience make you money? The most critical part was that even if it failed, on the surface, he had nothing to do with it. After the recording finished, Leo pocketed the device. Gabby brought him a glass of water. Leo, calm down. Leo took a sip, his eyes fixed on the floor. Tell me, he asked without looking up, if this really happened and I said I had nothing to do with it, would they believe me? Gabby froze, then shook her head. After a moment, she said with surprising depth, once a fact is established and someone's pushing the narrative with a few pieces of evidence, people stop caring if it makes sense. It's too easy to fake evidence these days. Leo looked up at her, stunned. Were these the words of a girl who'd barely finished high school? Gabby noticed his confusion and explained, it's something my sister used to say. It just seemed to fit here. Leo thought it fit perfectly. If someone pushed a story hard enough, people would believe it was true. They only cared about the outcome, not whether it was logical. Leo, they just want to use Chloe. If she wasn't here, would they still have a chance? Gabby suggested. It was the best solution she could think of. If Chloe wasn't in the state, they couldn't do anything. But Leo shook his head. We can dodge it this time, but what about the next? We have to solve this at the root. The problem was too deep for Gabby to figure out. She decided to just stop thinking and listen to what Leo planned to do. You can go. I need to make a call. Leo felt it was necessary to tell Ethan Jiang. He could have easily used this situation to his advantage, forcing Ethan to agree to let Chloe stay with him. But he couldn't risk it. What if, due to his own carelessness, he couldn't bear to think of the consequences? The only thing he could do now was mobilize every resource he had to protect Chloe and eliminate this threat for good. That young Master Zhao's voice was so familiar. Before calling Ethan, he contacted Laura Een first. "Boss, it's so late. What's up?" Laura's voice was drowsy and lazy. "The second son of the Hamlin group who was harassing you. Is his name Dylan Zhao?" "Yes, why are you suddenly asking?" "It's strange, actually. He's been quiet for a while now." Beep, beep, beep. Before Laura could finish her sentence, the line went dead. She threw her phone across the room in frustration, then went back to sleep. A moment later, she got up, picked up her phone, and wiped the dust off it. That soulless boss of mine is not even human. After confirming with Laura, Leo called Ethan Jiang. At this hour, Ethan was still awake. He'd been busy lately, having to sell off a lot of assets to recover from his recent losses. He was surprised to get a call from Leo. When he heard that Richard Chien was planning to use Chloe to get at him, he exploded. "I'm coming over tomorrow. I like to see who the hell dares." It was the first time Leo had ever heard Ethan so furious. Not even when Leo had threatened to make him a grandfather had he been this angry. "Leo, Chloe is there with you. If anything happens to her, I don't care if you're involved or not, I will." Leo cut him off. "I can't promise anything else, but you can rest assured on this. Nothing will happen to Chloe. And what good would you coming here do? Just confront him? A single recording isn't enough to convict him." Ethan slowly calmed down. He rubbed his temples. "You're not thinking of using Chloe to achieve your own goals, are you? If I really had that in mind, would I be making this call?" Leo shot back, annoyed. They hadn't spoken in a while. If it weren't for Chloe, he never would have called. Ethan was silent for a moment, then said slowly, "That was out of line. Tell me what you're thinking." Leo didn't beat around the bush. His words were shocking. "Until this is completely resolved, Chloe is going to live with me. She'll eat with me, sleep under my roof. I don't feel safe with her being alone." "Leo, you're dreaming." Even though Ethan was trying to control himself, he couldn't help but roar. Leo had anticipated this. He'd already pulled the phone away from his ear. When the shouting subsided, he brought it back. "Do you have a better idea? That's her own uncle. Tricking her into going somewhere is too easy. Are you planning on telling her about your family's dirty laundry?" Ethan was stunned. He had never considered telling Chloe, "Your beloved uncle is actually trying to destroy you." The psychological blow would be too much for her. Leo pressed his advantage. "Don't worry. I'm not the kind of person who takes advantage of a situation. I have principles. I've been with Chloe for this long. If I was going to do something, don't you think I would have by now?" Ethan knew about Leo and Chloe, of course. He had people here. They just didn't interfere unless it was necessary. Leo could hear Ethan take 2 deep breaths. "Keep talking." Leo smiled. This was a good start. Apex Construction wants to take over the Mill District project from the Hamlin Group. Their CEO, Mr. Xin, was the 3rd person in that recording. I want to start with him. There was one more thing Leo hadn't told Ethan. Mr. Ho had mentioned that the authorities were already collecting evidence on the Hamlin Group. It would take time, but not too long. When that centipede of a corporation finally died, it would be well and truly dead, and all the companies and people connected to it would go down with it. As long as he could stall for a little while, this problem would resolve itself. The only thing he needed to seriously consider was Chloe's uncle. How exactly should he repay him? Before tonight, Leo had just wanted to ruin him. But after tonight, everything had changed. To deal with someone like that, you had to be ruthless. Ethan tacitly agreed to Leo's plan. He even offered Leo some resources he could use. Perhaps still uneasy, he added, "I'll have my assistant come over tomorrow. If you need anything, you can talk to her." Leo knew exactly what he was doing, but didn't call him on it. Okay, that works. This time, Leo was smart enough not to ask about Chloe studying abroad. That was never going to happen anyway. "Well, Uncle Ethan, I won't keep you from your rest. I'm going to go get Chloe for a midnight snack." Leo hung up before Ethan could explode. He could only imagine that Ethan was in for a sleepless night. The bit about a midnight snack was just to provoke him. Leo remembered Chloe saying more than once that eating late at night makes you fat. Still, he called her. "Leo." The line was noisy. He could hear the clatter of keyboards and shouts of call-outs from video game. "A site short." This didn't sound like her dorm. "Where are you?" he asked quickly. "The gaming lounge," she said, her tone completely natural. "I just felt like playing some games, so I came out." She sounded so casual that for a second, Leo almost believed her. He didn't ask which lounge it was. He hung up and walked out his office. Near the front counter, sure enough, there she was. Her computer was on, but the screen was blank. She was holding her phone in one hand and a fruit smoothie in the other, a straw between her lips. There was another drink on the desk. As Leo watched, some guy went up to her. "Hey, you here alone? What game are you playing? Can I join you?" Chloe just shook her head without saying a word, her fingers still flying across her phone's keypad. Only after she hit send did she look up. "Sorry, I don't play games. Do you need something else?" Just as the guy was about to say more, a lounge employee walked over. "Miss, if you're not using the computer, could you please move to the seating area? We don't want to disturb the other customers." Just then, Leo's phone vibrated. A text from Chloe. "Gaming lounges are so fun. I'm going to pull an all-nighter." Leo knew she was just saying it to get a reaction, to make him worry about her. What a silly girl. "Hey, they are beautiful. All by yourself," Leo said, mimicking the other guy. The guy who'd just been shot down was still lingering. Seeing Leo charge in with the same suicidal confidence, he felt a strange sense of kinship. "I'm not the only clueless one here." But to his astonishment, Chloe actually responded. "Yeah, I am. You too handsome." The guy's jaw dropped. He wanted to ask the lounge security if this counted as a disturbance, but the employee had already vanished the moment Leo appeared. Leo smiled. "What a coincidence. Since we're both alone, why don't we play something together?" "Okay." Leo sat down next to her and turned on the computer. The lounge was packed, and with Chloe's stunning looks, plenty of guys had wanted that seat. But every time someone had tried, an employee would appear and inform them that the machine was broken. They'd all had to walk away disappointed. Broken? It seemed to be working just fine for Leo. "What are we playing?" Chloe thought for a moment. Bubble Fighter. It was probably the only online game she could think of. As the game was loading, she pushed the other drink on the desk toward him. "For keeping me company. It's for you." Leo took it without hesitation. He stuck a straw in and took a sip, only to see Chloe staring at him with wide, expectant eyes. "Want to try some?" Leo swore he was just being polite. He never thought she'd actually take him up on it. "Uh-huh." She nodded eagerly and leaned over. Without a second thought about him having just used it, she put her lips on the straw and took a long drink. "Mine's better," she declared. Leo rolled his eyes. "If yours is so good, why are you still holding onto my arm and not letting go?" After a few more sips from his cup, she seemed satisfied. As if to show how generous she was, she held her cup to his lips. "Want to try?" Seeing the teeth marks on the straw, Leo wanted to refuse. But Chloe didn't give him a chance to say no. Her tone was firm. "Drink it." Leo took a hesitant sip and immediately recoiled. "Is your lemonade just lemons?" Seeing his expression, Chloe lifted her chin, a smug little smirk on her face. "So you know what sour tastes like now, huh? Next time you lie to me about some pretty girl, you'll remember this. Leo immediately raised his hands in surrender. "I'll never lie to you again. Next time, I'll actually go find a pretty girl." Chloe was happy at first, but when she heard the second half of his sentence, her cheeks puffed out in anger again. "Are you going to play or not?" The game had loaded. Leo's voice was impatient. I'm playing," Chloe said, placing her hands on the keyboard. "Leo, help me. Quick, save me. You idiot. Why are you walking into the bomb? See? You died." Chloe's voice was naturally pleasant, and when she played games, it had a playful edge. Even when she was angry and scolding him, she sounded adorable. People kept glancing over, captivated by her looks. They couldn't figure out what was so special about the ordinary-looking guy next to her that would make a girl like her willing to spend all night with him in a gaming lounge. The night grew later, but the lounge didn't empty out. Even with the heat on, a chill crept into the air. Leo had intended to send Chloe back, but she stubbornly refused, saying she'd never pulled an all-nighter in a gaming lounge before and wanted the experience. In any other place, Leo would have said no. But here, he let her have her way. He signaled to Gabby, who brought over a small blanket. "It's getting cold. Put this on your lap." As he handed it to her, he noticed her eyelids were drooping, but she was still forcing herself to stay awake. Oh, Leo didn't call her out on her stubbornness. He just helped her cover her legs and let her be. Before long, he felt a weight on his shoulder. Chloe had fallen asleep, her eyes closed, long lashes casting shadows on her perfect face. It was a sight you couldn't look away from. "Leo, there's an empty room upstairs. We just cleaned it out. You two can rest there," Spike's sister, Ing, whispered as she came over. "The sheets and blankets are all new." Leo nodded, acknowledging her. He gently nudged Chloe. "Chloe, MMM." She murmured, still half asleep, her eyes closed. "Let's go," he said softly. "Let's go to a room and sleep." Chloe clung to his arm, her head resting on his shoulder, refusing to let go. "We're not a home. Where we find a room?" Leo tapped her forehead gently. "From now on, wherever I am, that's your home." A radiant smile spread across Chloe's face. Her eyes curved into crescents as she looked at him with pure affection. I'll remember that. What you just said. Good. After getting his confirmation, she stretched and stood up. Let's go. The gaming lounge had 2 floors, with a few private rooms upstairs. Ing led them to the 2nd floor, yawning as they reached a door. Leo, you guys get some rest. Call me if you need anything. The room has a private bathroom, and there are pajamas and things in there. We just bought them. Okay, thanks. Ing waved her hand. Don't be a stranger. Knowing Chloe was exhausted, Leo didn't waste any more time. He unlocked the door, and they went inside. The room was large and spotlessly clean. Once inside, Chloe turned with a smile and wrapped her arms around his neck. This is a nice room. Perfect for hiding away a pretty little bird in a gilded cage, don't you think? Leo was both amused and exasperated. And you think you're that pretty little bird? Chloe was silent for a moment. Well, I could be. It all depends on how you treat me. With that, she kicked off her shoes and jumped onto the bed, pulling the covers over herself. After a moment of rustling, she tossed her clothes out at him. Hang these up for me. Then, she fell back onto the pillow and was asleep almost instantly, her breathing even and soft with a faint hint of a snore. She clearly didn't see him as an outsider at all. The next morning, Chloe woke to find breakfast already on the nightstand. She was alone in the room. She rubbed her eyes and checked her phone. It was after 9. She immediately called Leo. Yo, you're awake? The simple joys of life were different for everyone. For Chloe, a day's happiness began with the sound of Leo's voice. Yep, where are you? Dealing with something outside. I'll be right there. Chloe knew Leo was busy, so she didn't rush him. What she didn't know was that the moment he hung up, he tossed his phone onto a desk in the gaming lounge. Hurry up. After this round, I have a date. Shane Xie and Mark Leong shot him looks of disdain, but their eyes were filled with envy. No way. You didn't come back to the dorm last night. You were really with Chloe. When they had seen Leo in the lounge this morning, they had given him a hard time. Why are you crashing here instead of in your own bed? Did you get dumped? With all the drama on the forums and no word from Leo for a couple of days, but Leo had just fired back with some sarcastic remark like them. Now, after hearing Chloe's call, no further explanation was needed. After getting sniped in a mid-lane push, Leo quit the game, took off his headset, and stood up. You guys are a bunch of noobs. I can't carry you. By the way, find some time to meet with Connor. You need to get things moving on forming the company. Connor was busy helping Leo with the bid, so he hadn't had time to focus on their startup. Leo had to push his roommates. Yeah, we know. Now get out of here. They were in the middle of a game and quickly shooed him away. They were actually very invested in the project and would have done it without him nagging. When Leo got back to the room, Chloe was already washed up and had even put on some light makeup. Her already beautiful face was now even more stunning. He sat down in a chair and beckoned to her. Hey, baby, come over here and let Grandpa have a look. Chloe was pleased with his reaction. She walked over and settled onto his lap, draping her arms around his shoulders with a beaming smile. Well, Grandpa, do you like what you see? I love it. After a moment of playful banter, Leo glanced at the time. By the way, doesn't your dad have an assistant named Faye? Chloe didn't know why he was asking, but she nodded. Yeah, why do you suddenly bring her up? From her expression, Leo knew Ethan hadn't told her yet. It looked like he was leaving it to him. She's coming here today. We have to go pick her up later. What? Chloe was so surprised, she jumped to her feet. Why is Faye coming here? Leo threw his hands up. She's the third will your dad arranged to send over. Chloe's expression was complicated. After a moment of silence, she tugged on his sleeve, her voice soft, as if she was afraid he was angry. Leo, I really didn't know about this. I'll talk to my dad. Before she could finish, Leo covered her mouth. Chill. First, kiss me. He pointed to his cheek. Chloe, realizing he wasn't mad, planted a loud smooch on his face. It wasn't the first time. She wasn't shy, but Leo wasn't satisfied. He pointed to his lips. Another kiss. Afterward, Chloe couldn't stop giggling. At first, Leo didn't know what was so funny, but when he saw the lipstick on her mouth, he understood. He wiped his own lips with the back of his hand. Sure enough, it was covered in red. Chloe took out a tissue and helped him wipe it clean. How did you know Faye was coming today? She asked as she dabbed at his lips. Leo felt it was necessary to tell her some things, at least enough to make her a little cautious. Faye's arrival was partly as a chaperone, but mostly for Chloe's protection. Leo couldn't take any chances, and neither could Ethan. Richard's methods were too vile and unpredictable. Until he was dealt with, Chloe's safety came first. Chloe, after Faye gets here, whenever I'm not around, you can ask for her opinion on anything, no matter what it is. Chloe looked at him, Confused, her brow furrowed. But she nodded obediently. Okay, Leo, are you guys hiding something from me? Chloe wasn't stupid. It was easy for her to guess that something was going on. But Leo didn't plan on saying any more. If anyone was going to tell her, it should be Ethan. No, he denied quickly. It's just that you're a fool, and you're easy to trick and bully. I don't even have the heart to bully you. So how could I let anyone else do it? Do it. Chloe was satisfied with his answer, but she still pouted and retorted. You're the one who bullies me all the time. Oh, Leo said with a half smile. And how do I do that? Chloe was at a loss for words. She stammered for a moment before saying, exasperated, I don't care, you just do. And I remember what you said last night. What did I say? Leo asked, feigning ignorance. You said, wherever you are, that's my home. I'm holding you to that. Leo had underestimated Ethan John's concern for Chloe. The next morning, just as they were about to leave, Faye called. Mr. White, I've already arrived at the university. The president's office said that neither you nor Chloe are here. Where are you? I can come find you. You didn't find many employees that dedicated. Leo had the call on speaker, and Chloe, standing next to him, heard everything. She pouted, clearly not thrilled. Who would be getting a third wheel out of the blue? We just left the gaming lounge. Wait for us at the school gate. We're on our way. After Leo finished, Faye said with surprise, the gaming lounge? Leo didn't bother to explain and just hung up. What was so strange about coming from a gaming lounge? He didn't think it was strange at all. Chloe, Leo said suddenly. What is it? She asked, turning to look at him, her arms still linked with his. Leo said with a completely straight face, you have to treasure a boy who is willing to pull an all-nighter at a gaming lounge with you. Chloe burst out laughing, her eyes crinkling beautifully. She didn't argue, just nodded emphatically. I will. They chatted casually all the way to the school gate. Leo had met Faye before, but it had been in the summer. Back then, she'd been wearing a form-fitting professional skirt, her long legs wrapped in black stockings, a sight that was hard to forget. It was a shame it was cold now, and she was bundled up. Faye, why didn't you tell me you were coming? Chloe greeted her first. Faye smiled. The truth was, she had only just found out herself. When Ethan had called her, the driver was already waiting downstairs. I didn't want to disturb your rest. That's why I called when I arrived. Chloe was just asking casually and didn't press the issue. So what brings you here this time? Faye glanced at Leo. She still didn't know why Ethan had sent her. He'd only told her to contact Leo after she arrived. Leo took over. Chloe, Faye is going to be staying here for a while. We can ask later. Don't you have a class today? Chloe looked from Leo to Faye. She knew they were definitely hiding something from her, but she couldn't force them to talk. She checked the time. It was indeed time for class. All right then, are we having lunch together later? Leo rejected the idea without a second thought. Faye will eat with you. I have something to do. Oh, okay. Watching Chloe's dejected expression, Faye was surprised. Was this really the proud heiress of the John Corporation? It was true what they said. People in love lose their minds, especially young girls. Mr. White, Mr. Jiang said you would explain everything to me, Faye said after Chloe had gone into the school. Leo didn't answer right away. He took a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. As he was about to light one, he noticed Faye's gaze. You don't mind, do you? What matter if I said I did? Faye asked with a helpless smile. Fair point. Leo lit the cigarette. Someone's targeting Chloe, and I can't watch her 24 hours a day. Faye was completely shocked. She covered her mouth, her face a mask of disbelief. Who will be so bold? Chloe of Ethan's eye. Anyone who touched his full wrath. Leo shook his, unable to tell her everything just yet. The people closest to her are the ones you need to be most careful of. Also, your boss said I could come to you if I... Right? Faye was still processing what he'd just said. Hearing his question, she nodded numbly. Yes, the John Corporation's resources in this area are all at your disposal. That was exactly what Leo wanted to hear. Then thank you in advance. How about you give me a couple of your business cards? Faye was taken aback. Leo already had her number. Asking for a card could only mean he intended to give it to someone else. Realizing this, she took a few from her wallet. Mr. White, the number on here is my work line. Just have them mention your name when they call. Leo took a look. Faye's card was a world away from the cheap, flimsy ones. It was black, with gold embossed lettering that spoke of quality. Besides the Jiang Corporation's logo, it had only her name and phone number. No title. After their chat, Leo left without any talk of arranging a place for her to stay or welcoming her. They weren't close. There was no need. Besides, her arrival wasn't exactly a good thing for him. Having an extra pair of eyes watching whenever he was with Chloe, the thought was unsettling. After leaving the university, Leo called Connor's son. He'd already arranged it that morning, saying George's son had something to discuss with him in person. Leo, you at the university? We're at the site office for the market. The main structure of the market was complete, and they were now installing windows and running electrical and plumbing. The materials were all sourced from George Sun's company, the first bit of business Leo had thrown his way. Inside the makeshift office, George Sun was leaning back in a chair, a thermal mug in his hand. He stood up immediately when Leo walked in. Leo. He used to call him Mr. White. But after Leo did Connor a favor and accepted Holly Chiao as his stepsister, he naturally started calling her father Uncle George. After that, Mr. White became Leo. Uncle George, you wanted to see me? It's about the bid. I've got some news. George sat down next to Leo. The person in charge of pre-qualification is a director at the County Planning Commission. I asked around. He's very close with the Hanlon Group. He handed Leo a file folder. His information is in here. Leo opened the folder. The director's position wasn't high, but his power was significant. If he said your qualifications weren't up to snuff, you didn't even get a chance to bid. As Leo read, George asked tentatively, should we invite him out to dinner? Leo knew what dinner meant. It was just a euphemism for a bribe. Leo had the same idea. He was going to give him a gift, all right, a big one. This kind of parasite needed to be dealt with. But he couldn't let George be the one to do it. It would put him at risk. Even though he was just his step-uncle by proxy, he had been genuinely helpful. Uncle George, thank you. I'll handle this myself. George was stunned for a moment. Seeing Leo's expression, he instantly guessed what he was thinking. Leo, are you planning to take care of him? When Leo didn't deny it, he quickly warned, you have to be careful. Once you do something like that, other people will think twice before working with you. Leo understood the principle, when the rabbit dies, the fox grieves. It was especially true in government circles. If he took down one official, others would worry they'd be next if they worked with him. They would become wary and guarded. And to do business, you had to deal with them. The last thing you wanted was their fear and suspicion. Don't worry, Uncle George. I know what I'm doing. Seeing his determination, George couldn't say any more. In that case, Leo, I wish you luck. Leo smiled. He took one of Faye's business cards from his pocket and handed it to him. Uncle George, the John Corporation has a few projects starting up. You should give them a call. Just mention my name. Leo felt zero guilt about using Ethan John's resources. If he was going to end up with the man's daughter, what were a few business contacts? George Sun was overjoyed, his face flushed with excitement as he thanked Leo profusely. He had initially approached Leo, hoping to get an introduction to the John Corporation. A company of that size could toss you a few crumbs and you'd be set for years. But as he got to know Leo, it became harder to ask. It felt too transactional, and he worried it would create a rift between them. He never imagined Leo would just offer it up so proactively. To Leo, it wasn't a big deal. He waved it off and left. As one of the nation's premier universities, the academic atmosphere at Stanford was far more intense than at the University of Oregon. Leo wanted to soak some of it in. Since he couldn't get in on his own merits, he'd take a more roundabout route, date a Stanford girl. Then he could hold her hand on the way to class and sneak into a lecture or two. It didn't matter if he couldn't understand what the professor was saying. He just needed to know it was brilliant. Equally brilliant was Sophia. Her notebook was a dense thicket of notes. Leo recognized each individual character, but strung together, they were gibberish. Seeing Leo yawn, Sophia slid a folded piece of paper across the desk. Didn't you sleep well last night? Leo stared at the neat, elegant script and felt a wave of déjà vu. This was a middle school move, wasn't it? In college, weren't you supposed to just say whatever was on your mind? He quickly realized his own foolishness. These people were here to actually learn. He scribbled back, don't worry about me. Pay attention. Sophia glanced at the note, then tucked it into her book. She did as he said and focused on the lecture. When the class ended, she went to get him a cup of water from the fountain. Leo was just staring blankly, his head resting on the desk. Here, drink some water, she said softly. Maybe you should go back and get some rest. Leo shook his head stubbornly. It's fine. We told Connor and the others we'd have lunch today. Connor wasn't there, but Holly Chiao was sitting on Sophia's other side. She turned at the mention of his name. Bro, pick any spot in the dining hall. My treat. She called him bro with a complete lack of awkwardness. Leo rolled his eyes. It looked like he was stuck with this honorary little sister. First, you have to call Sophia sis-in-law, he said, a smirk playing on his lips. If she agrees, then you can call me bro. Sophia laughed, a blush rising on her cheeks. You're such a rogue. Leo pretended not to hear her, keeping his eyes fixed on Holly. Well, you gonna do it, little sis? Holly paused for a moment, then turned back to Sophia. You know what? I think I'll pass on having him as a brother, she said with a dramatic sigh. I couldn't possibly lead you astray like that. Right, sis-in-law? Quinn Ho, who had been listening quietly, let out a sudden snort of laughter. As all eyes turned to her, the usually shy girl waved her hands frantically. Carry on, carry on. Holly was still grinning. Sis-in-law, you haven't answered. Sophia shot her a playful glare. Holly, you're becoming a bad influence. Holly blinked innocently. Am I? I don't think so. Sophia didn't rise to the bait. She looked at Leo. Stop teasing her. Leo, however, put on a serious face. I'm not teasing. I'm telling the God's honest truth. Don't you think sis-in-law sounds warmer, more intimate than just Sophia? Sophia thought about it for a second and, to her own surprise, didn't argue. He kind of had a point. At noon, Connor's son was already waiting for them outside the classroom, holding several cups of bubble tea. He even had one for Leo. Leo took it without ceremony and took a sip. It was still warm. Connor could be surprisingly thoughtful sometimes. Quinn, however, looked flustered by the gesture. Thank you, she stammered. You guys go ahead. I have something to do, so I'll head out. I don't want to impose. Being around the four of them always made her feel a little strange. She made an excuse and scurried away. No one tried to stop her. They all understood. If they were in her shoes, they'd probably do the same. Sophia sipped her bubble tea, lost in thought. After a moment, she turned to Holly. Holly, I forgot something. Can you walk back with me to get it? Leo was sure they hadn't left anything behind, but he kept his mouth shut. Sophia must have had a reason. We'll go grab a table at the dining hall then, he said. Sound good. Connor started to say something else, but Leo slung an arm over his shoulder. Dude, just tell me, what's the most expensive thing on the menu at the Stanford dining hall? As Leo and Connor walked away, Holly turned to Sophia. So, Sophia, sis-in-law, should we go? Sophia looked back at her, a meaningful expression in her eyes, and didn't move. Just as Holly was about to ask what was wrong, Sophia spoke in a low voice. Holly, your period. It's late this month, isn't it? Holly froze, the smile vanishing from her face. Yeah, she whispered. I'll wait a few more days. If it still doesn't come, I'll go to the clinic. Sophia sighed internally. There wasn't much more she could say. Does Connor know? Holly shook her head. There's no point in telling him. He'd just worry, and it wouldn't change anything. They both fell silent. After a long moment, Holly bit her lip. Sophia, can you keep this a secret for me? Don't tell anyone. Sophia knew what Holly was worried about. She'd met Connor's parents a few times, and the encounters hadn't been pleasant. Things had only gotten slightly better after Leo started calling Holly his sister. If this news came out now, it would be all too easy for Connor's mother to accuse her of trying to trap him, using a pregnancy to secure her place. Stanford students were the golden children of the world. They all had their pride. Holly couldn't bear to be seen that way. When Sophia and Holly got to the dining hall, Leo and Connor had already ordered a spread of food. What took you so long? Connor urged. Come on, sit down. The four of them chatted casually as they ate. Sophia and Holly were so natural you couldn't detect a hint of the heavy conversation they just had. After lunch, Leo got ready to leave, and Sophia walked him out. When they reached the campus gate, she suddenly stopped. Leo, she asked, her voice serious. What would you do if, one day, I told you I was pregnant with your child? Leo froze for a second, then reached out and gently pinched her cheek. He met her gaze, a slow smile spreading across his face. I'd have a child, he said, his voice soft but unwavering. And then I'd take care of you, just like I take care of the baby. The words were simple, but for Sophia, they were enough. She couldn't resist a mischievous retort. Darling, you're not trying to get me to call you daddy, are you? Leo was momentarily speechless. Actually, I guess I could, she purred, leaning in. Then she pulled back, laughing. You wish, you darling asshole. Leo, you free tonight? It was Richard Chien on the phone that afternoon. Your uncle didn't have time to host you properly yesterday, he continued, his voice slick and friendly. I've arranged a special dinner for you tonight with a few of my friends. Unlike yesterday's crowd, these are some of the most prominent figures in the greater Seattle area. I'll introduce you. Oh, and don't bother bringing Chloe. She's not feeling well, so just let her rest. Leo knew it was likely a trap, but after a moment's thought, he agreed. Okay, uncle. See you tonight. After hanging up, a chilling smile crept across Richard's face. Well, did he agree? Mr. Xin asked eagerly from the side. When Richard nodded, he turned to Dylan Zhao. Dylan, we'll have to ask you to play along tonight. Please, try to control yourself. Act like you're genuinely interested in becoming his friend. Before the call, Dylan had told him about his previous failed attempt to cause trouble for Rush Sportswear and how he had been warned off. The bitterness in his voice was impossible to hide. Mr. Xin knew his temperament. Arrogant, entitled, and incapable of taking a loss. He was terrified Dylan would blow up the moment he saw Leo. Dylan waved his hand impatiently. I know. Stop nagging. But we have an agreement. Just for tonight. After tonight, it's not just Chloe Jiang, but that Laura Een too. Richard stood silently to the side, his expression unchanging even at the mention of Chloe's name, as if she were a total stranger. Meanwhile, Leo was trying to figure out their angle. Their goal was to use Chloe to frame him. So why would they specifically tell him not to bring her? He didn't for a second believe Richard had suddenly grown a conscience. Once a conscience is gone, it's gone for good. Since he couldn't figure it out, he decided to set it aside for now. He turned to Spike. I have to go out again tonight. Spike knew the general situation. He didn't understand why Leo was walking into a clear danger zone, but he also knew it wasn't his place to question it. I'll go with you. Leo didn't refuse. With Spike there, at least someone could look after him if he got too drunk. Drunk, Leo muttered to himself, then pulled out his phone and dialed Chloe. It had barely rung twice when he heard her whisper, I'm in class. What's up? Is Faye with you? Yeah. She says she's sticking with me for the time being. Chloe's voice was a mix of frustration and resignation. This was all so ridiculous. But instead of comforting her, Leo sounded relieved. Good. Just as Chloe was about to ask what was so good about it, Leo cut her off. I'm going out for dinner tonight, and I might be drinking. If someone calls you and says I'm blackout drunk and can't move, what would you do? I'd come get you, of course, she answered without a second thought. Leo wasn't moved. He practically shouted into the phone. Pick me up? Are you kidding me? I'm a grown man. What's the worst that could happen if I get drunk? I'm telling you from now on, if you get a call from anyone telling you to come get me, you assume they're a liar. Got it? It was rare for Leo to be this serious with her, and it caught her completely off guard. She could only mumble defensively, you don't have to yell. Leo took a deep breath and softened his tone. Did you hear what I said? He asked. Especially for the next few days. No matter who calls or what they say about me, don't believe them. Chloe had no idea why he was suddenly being so dramatic, but she mumbled an okay. From her tone, Leo knew his words had gone in one ear and out the other. Put Faye on the phone. He heard Chloe whisper on the other end, Faye, it's Leo for you. Faye took the phone, her voice crisp and annoyed. Mister White, can't this wait until after class? I'm in the middle of a lecture. Leo was dumbfounded. So they sent her here to be Chloe's bodyguard, and she was actually attending classes? Oh, sorry to interrupt your studies, he said sarcastically. Not at all. What are your instructions? Faye replied, her tone shifting back to professional. Leo got straight to the point. I have a dinner tonight that could get messy. If someone contacts Chloe and tells her to come pick me up, no matter how serious they make it sound, she's not to go. I just told her, but I'm worried she'll go anyway. Faye immediately grasped the gravity of the situation. Her playful demeanor vanished. Understand, she said seriously. Do you need backup? Mister Jiang has people here. Leo thought for a moment. No, better to have them keep a close eye on Chloe. Faye didn't press. In her eyes, Chloe's safety was far more important than Leo's. She had only offered out of courtesy. All right, you be careful then. Having worked for Ethan Jiang for so long, she was no stranger to this kind of thing. Just as she was about to hang up, Leo spoke again. I'm going to text you number. Find a chance to set up call forwarding on Chloe's phone. For tonight, I want all her incoming calls to go to that number. Faye paused, then said, okay. After hanging up, Leo stood lost in thought. Leo, we don't have to go, Spike said, concerned. He'd rarely seen Leo this serious and was worried for his safety. But Leo shook his head. If we dodge it this time, there will be a next time. At least this time, we're prepared. Better to use this chance to settle things once and for all. By the way, does Gabby have a phone yet? Gabby XIN was busy working at the gaming lounge, enjoying the peaceful, stable life. The boss was easygoing and paid well. Sure, he sometimes asked her to do some shady things, but it was worlds better than the constant fear she used to live with. Plus, every time she did one of those jobs, she got a huge bonus. A few more of those, and she could think about going back home and fixing up the house. Then again, no one lived there, so it would just benefit her deadbeat father. Maybe she could buy a place in Oak Creek instead. But that seemed expensive. She found herself hoping her boss would have more work for her. Just as she was lost in her daydreams, Spike called her over. Gabby, come here a second. Coming. What? You buy me a phone? Gabby covered her mouth in shock. She had saved up a little money and had thought about buying one, but she didn't think she really needed it. Her sister and brother were both here, and she could see them whenever she wanted. A phone seemed like a luxury. She could never bring herself to spend the money. And now, the big boss was just giving her one. Boss, don't do this, she said, her face a mask of distress. If you had other intentions, that's one thing. But you don't. This just makes me feel uncomfortable. She looked at Leo with pleading eyes. Leo was unmoved. Do you want it or not? Thank you, boss. When are we going? After buying Gabby a Nokia and a new SIM card, Leo immediately texted the number to Faye. Then he turned to Gabby. Tonight, if you get a call telling you to come pick me up, you know what to do, right? He had already briefed her while they were at the store. Gabby was fiddling with the new phone, unable to put it down. Don't worry, boss, I got it, she said without looking up. I'll get in touch with Spike's guy. If they dare to make a move, we'll give them a big surprise. Leo nodded. Good. If Richard's dinner tonight was really just about meeting a few people and having a few drinks, he was going to be deeply disappointed. He'd have given away a brand new phone for nothing. All that money. He squinted at Gabby. He'd just have to chalk it up as an investment. He had a feeling he'd have plenty of use for her in the future. Gabby must have felt his gaze. Boss, that look in your eyes. It's so shifty. Being told he had a shifty look by a former pickpocket. Just how shifty must he look? Leo quickly turned away. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye, boss. Gabby waved, then remembered something. Hey, what if you really do get too drunk tonight? Should I just ignore it? Some of the girls at the lounge really admire you. Maybe I could. Leo quickened his pace. If he listened any longer, he might actually agree. The girls who worked at that gaming lounge were all pretty cute. As evening approached, Leo arrived at a high-end hotel in the city center. Richard Chien was already there waiting. When he saw Leo, he walked over with a broad smile. Leo, we were just waiting for you. Let's go in. By the way, you didn't tell Chloe about tonight, did you? Looking at Richard's expression, Leo almost began to doubt himself. Was their target tonight just him? Were they planning to get him drunk, throw a random woman at him, and have her scream assault? Honestly, Leo thought it was a pretty solid idea. He knew a certain real-life e-commerce billionaire who had taken a major fall over something similar. But now wasn't the time for that. He was here. He'd see what happened. He had Spike and Connor's son as his cleanup crew. He'd even asked Sophia to pull some strings and get him a spy camera, the kind journalists use. He refused to believe anything could go wrong. Uncle, you told me not to bring her, so I didn't, Leo said. But I was wondering why not. Richard led the way, laughing as they walked. It's just a bunch of us guys tonight. It wouldn't be right for her to be the only woman. Besides, a few people are very eager to meet you. After dinner, there might be other arrangements. Richard didn't spell it out, but the implication was clear. They were going to show Leo a good time. Leo feigned delight. In that case, I'd be honored to accept your hospitality. Ha ha, you're too kind, Leo. We're all family, after all. They chatted as they made their way to a private dining room. Inside, there were 5 or 6 men. Apart from Mr. Xin, whom he'd met the day before, Leo didn't recognize anyone. But sitting in the seat of honor was a young man with a thuggish swagger who was impossible to miss. Mr. White. Dylan Zhao's lips curved into a slight smirk as Leo entered. He greeted him with feigned warmth. I've been wanting to meet you for a long time, but never had the chance. Leo recognized his back from the incident at Rush Sportswear, when he'd been harassing Lorraine. He'd heard his voice, too. Though he despised the man, he kept a smile plastered on his face. And you are? Richard stepped in. Leo, this is Dylan Zhao. His family's business is immense. I'll tell you more about it later. Around here, everyone calls him Dylan. Richard knew the Hamlin Group and the John Corporation were bitter rivals, so he wisely avoided mentioning the company's name. Dylan. Leo acted surprised. I've heard so much about you. It's an honor to finally meet you. I'll definitely have to toast you properly later. Dylan, accustomed to flattery, didn't notice the flicker of disgust in Leo's eyes. Of course, he said with a laugh. By the way, I had a small misunderstanding with your company's Laura Een a while back. Dylan narrowed his eyes, waiting for Leo's reaction. Laura Een. Leo feigned confusion. When Dylan nodded, he erupted. How dare she? I'll fire her right now. Leo grabbed his phone and pretended to make a call. Richard and the others didn't stop him. They just watched. When the call connected, Leo put it on speaker. Boss, I was about to head home. What's up? Laura's voice was full of manufacturer complaint. Leo didn't bother with an explanation. Laura, hand off your work. You don't need to come in tomorrow. Don't you have any sense of who you can and cannot afford to offend? There was a long silence on the other end. Finally, Laura's voice came through, faint and dejected. I understand. Then she hung up. She slammed her phone down and turned to Ing. Ing, his tone. That didn't sound like he was acting. Ing covered her mouth to hide a smile. That's because he wasn't. Laura was completely stunned. What? He's really firing me. Ing shook her head. Leo's exact words were that the Rush Sportswear division here is too small for you. Keeping you here is a waste of your talent. He wants you to take full charge of Silver Fur Capital. An inexplicable wave of relief washed over Laura, She feigned disappointment. I thought I was finally free. I had no idea I was just signing up for more work. She knew about Silver Fur Capital. Leo had mentioned it more than once. His future was in investment and holding companies. The retail business was just a way to generate capital for it. He'd laid out his vision with unshakable confidence. She had no idea how he could be so certain his investments would pay off, but then she remembered. Leo was a miracle worker. All she had to do was trust him. Ing saw right through her act. She knew that when she'd first told Laura about the possibility of this call, Laura's face had gone white as a sheet. As Ing turned to leave, Laura called her back. Hey, have you ever thought about learning business management from me? Running that gaming lounge is fine, but it's not exactly a career. Back in the dining room, Leo hung up and looked at Dylan with an apologetic expression. Dylan, my apologies. I'm sorry on her behalf. Let me toast you. Dylan was thoroughly pleased with Leo's performance. Don't be a stranger. Come on, I'll drain this one. After a few glasses of wine, Leo felt his head spin. Soon he could barely sit upright. Leo, Mr. White, Leo. He could faintly hear them calling his name. A small smile touched Leo's lips. Good, thank God. I was worried you wouldn't make a move. He's out cold. Richard, it's on you now. Richard had been drinking heavily to keep up with Leo, and his own head was swimming. He rubbed his temples with one hand and waved to a subordinate with the other. The man understood, stepping forward to take Leo's phone from the table. After unlocking it, he scrolled through the contacts and found Chloe's number. When the call connected, he put on speaker. Hello, is this Chloe Jiang? He asked tentatively. Yes, the voice on the other end was hoarse, as if she had a cold. Richard, still dizzy, glanced at the number to confirm it was correct. Hearing the affirmative response, he didn't question it further. He nodded, and the man continued. Leo drank a bit too much, and he's passed out. He keeps mumbling your name, saying he wants to see you. We're at the City Grand Hotel. Can you come pick him up? There was no hesitation from the other side. Okay. The answer was crisp and immediate. Then, the line went dead. The sudden dial tone left even Richard momentarily stunned. That was fast. Still, a promise was a promise. It was a good thing. He had the man place the phone back on the table in front of Leo. Then he lit a cigarette and looked at Dylan Zhao. She's on her way. Dylan grinned, his eyes narrowing into slits. He raised his glass to Richard. Richard, that factory you want to build here? Consider it done. He drained the glass in one go. He then held out a hand to another man standing nearby, beckoning him over. The man scurried forward obsequiously, holding a digital camera. He hunched over to show Dylan the photos he'd just taken. They all showed Dylan with his arms slung around Leo's shoulders, the two of them looking like the best of friends. Anyone who saw them would assume they were close. Dylan was satisfied, perhaps because he was in such a good mood. He joked, "Not bad, but you made me look a little ugly. Do better next time." He handed the camera back without waiting for a reply and poured himself another drink. Ethan Jiang, oh, Ethan Jiang, he gloated to himself. You never imagined your daughter would one day fall into my hands, did you? Richard shot him a sidelong glance and offered a word of caution. You have everything arranged on your end, right? Dylan's lips twisted into a confident smirk. Of course. He clapped his hands. A tall, beautiful woman in a slinky evening gown entered on high heels. Come here, Dylan beckoned with a crooked finger. The woman shot him a seductive smile and swayed her hips as she walked toward him. The moment she was close, Dylan yanked her down onto his lap. You're so naughty, the woman cooed, smiling. There are so many people here. Despite her words, her body molded eagerly against his. Mr. Xin, standing nearby, couldn't help but swallow hard. A glare from Dylan sent his eyes darting away. This is my brother, Dylan said, his fingers tracing the woman's jawline. Tonight, I need you to take very good care of him. The woman draped her arms around Dylan's neck and glanced over at the slumped figure of Leo. She feigned disappointment. Oh, Dylan, so I'm still not good enough for you? I thought I'd finally get to serve you tonight. I was so excited. Ack! She cried out as a hand smacked her hard on the hip. Do I need to teach you what to do? Dylan's voice was cold. All right, I know. The woman nodded, her expression shifting to one of understanding. Clearly, this wasn't her first time. Dylan, you'll reimburse my medical expenses, right? And this dress. It was very expensive. Dylan's patience was wearing thin. Buy it. Get this done right, and I'll buy you whatever you want. Hearing this, the woman finally smiled. She stood up, walked over to Leo, and took his limp hand. Unsheathing her fingernails, she placed his hand just above her chest. Gritting her teeth, she dragged his fingers down, tearing through the fabric in her skin. One scratch wasn't enough. She repeated the motion in several other places. The once pristine white fabric was now marred with deep, red gashes. Blood began to well up, staining the front of her gown, looking grotesquely vibrant under the harsh lights. After she was done, she didn't immediately drop Leo's hand. She carefully inspected his fingernails to make sure there was evidence, then tossed his hand back onto the table. "That really hurt," she muttered. Mr. Xian watched, horrified. They were going to destroy him. Dylan had moved to sit next to Leo. He stared at the unconscious man, the mockery in his eyes undisguised. Leo white. "Huh, and I thought you were different from the rest. Turns out you're just trash. Don't you worry. I'll take good care of Chloe for you. You just have a nice, long stay in jail. Oh, and you can probably hear us, can't you? Just can't move. Let me tell you a little secret. The drug we used on you? It's the same stuff we used on Chloe. And your dear uncle here got it from me personally." Dylan couldn't help but gloat. He loved making people feel helpless and enraged. It was the only way to satisfy his weird kink. But his mention of the past earned him a sharp rebuke from Richard. "Dylan, why the hell would you bring that up?" The rebuke didn't dampen Dylan's mood. Today was his day. He continued to mutter, "Your Rush sportswear is so high and mighty. I just made a few little threats, and someone immediately called my big brother. That was the first time he ever hit me. Do you know how much it hurt? My face was swollen for days. I couldn't even leave the house." The more Dylan spoke, the more agitated he became. Even Richard couldn't help but whisper maniac under his breath. Dylan's face twisted into a snarl. "You really think firing one Laura makes us even? Pathetic. And let me tell you something else. We used your name to invite Chloe here. When she arrives and sees you in a room with another woman. Oh, and we have another big surprise waiting just for her tonight." Perhaps because of the alcohol, Richard could no longer stomach Dylan's talk about Chloe. He frowned. "All right, I'm leaving. You handle the rest of this. Ethan Jiang will not let this go." Dylan was unconcerned. Chloe doesn't know who Leo was having dinner with. Besides, we'll have a few small-time reporters leak the story first. Who's going to know we were behind it? Leo? By the time he's inside, someone will be there to make sure he keeps his mouth shut. Richard had nothing more to say. Rush Sportswear was about to face a massive upheaval. That would be his moment to strike. He didn't care about the brand. He wanted its sales channels. They were spread all across the country. Richard left the hotel. As he got into his car, he saw Chloe's Land Rover pulling into the parking garage. He gave a passing glance and then told his driver, "Let's go." After setting up the call forwarding on Chloe's phone, Faye decided she had to inform Ethan Jiang. Just as she was about to dial his number, Chloe stopped her. "Faye, what did Leo say to you today?" Ever since the call from Leo, Faye had been acting strangely. Chloe couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer. Faye smiled calmly. "He said he had an important dinner tonight and couldn't be with you, so he asked me to take you out to eat." "Is that really it?" Chloe narrowed her eyes, skeptical. Faye threw her hands up. "What else would it be? That he was going out fooling around and asked me to babysit you?" It was meant as a joke to put Chloe at ease, but to Faye's surprise, Chloe nodded seriously. "That's a definite possibility." Faye slapped her own forehead, speechless. "What are you talking about? Silly girl. You have to remember, I'm on your side. Why would I ever cover for him in a situation like that?" Chloe pouted and turned away. "I hope so. You guys never tell me anything anyway." Faye spent another few minutes placating her, finally managing to calm her down. She then made an excuse to go to the restroom and called Ethan Jiang. Upon hearing the news, Ethan wasn't particularly surprised. He was silent for a moment before he spoke. "You'll make the arrangements. If they do call for Chloe to go, let her go." Faye was shocked. "But sir, no, but," Ethan said, his voice firm and final, leaving no room for argument. "Just do as I say." After he hung up, Faye fell silent. She couldn't understand why he would give such an order. Leo clearly knew it was a trap and had specifically warned them to keep Chloe away. And yet Ethan, of course, she would never question Ethan's decision. "Understood. I'll handle it." She hung up and sighed. Steeling herself, she composed her features and went back out to Chloe. "Chloe, my phone's dead. Can I borrow yours?" Chloe handed it over without a second thought. Faye took the phone and navigated to the settings, preparing to cancel the call forwarding. But just before she pressed confirm, she looked up at Chloe. "Faye, what is it?" Chloe asked, feeling Faye's gaze. "Is there something on my face?" Faye shook her head. "No, I was just thinking how beautiful you're getting." As she spoke, she changed the call forwarding number to her own. She just couldn't let Chloe walk into that kind of danger, no matter what Ethan had ordered. "Here's your phone back." When the call came, Faye had been hoping it was Leo, telling her everything was resolved and it had all been a false alarm. But the voice on the other end was a stranger's. Her senses went on high alert. She answered in a hoarse, disguised voice. After hanging up, she decided she had to go. According to Ethan's orders, someone had to show up tonight. Chloe, I have to go out for a bit. Can I borrow your car? Where are you going? Can I come? Chloe was bored. Leo was gone, and now Faye was leaving. But Faye refused flatly. No, it's important work stuff. Oh, all right then. Chloe sighed and pulled the car keys from her pocket. Watching Faye's car drive away, Chloe took out her phone, wanting to call Leo. But she glanced at the time. It was almost 8. He was probably in the middle of his dinner, drinking and schmoozing. It didn't seem like a good time to bother him. Dejected, she headed back to her dorm alone. The moment she walked in, Stacy Dawn called out to her. Chloe, where have you been? I tried calling, but you didn't pick up. Chloe was confused. She hadn't received any calls. She didn't dwell on it, though. What's up, Stacy? Stacy shook her head. Nothing, just wanted to see if you were coming back tonight. Oh, okay. Ever since Chloe had stayed out all night once before, Stacy had gotten into the habit of calling to check on her if she wasn't back by a certain time, worried she might get into trouble. Since it was nothing important, Chloe didn't ask any more questions. She sat down at her desk and pulled out her phone again. Stacy, can you try calling me again? I don't see any missed calls. Maybe my phone is acting up. Stacy turned around. That's so weird, she muttered, dialing Chloe's number again. The call went through, but on Chloe's screen, the incoming call notification flashed for a split second and then vanished. They tried several more times with the same result. Chloe, you don't think there's really something wrong with your phone, do you? Stacy asked, uncertain, but Chloe didn't answer. The more she thought about it, the more something felt wrong. Both Leo and Faye were acting strangely. Her brow furrowed in thought. She quickly opened her phone's settings and navigated to the call forwarding menu. Faye's number. Chloe desperately wanted to call Leo and ask him what was going on, but she remembered how he had deliberately hidden this from her, even getting Faye to help. He obviously didn't want her involved. Then she thought about his strange warning on the phone about someone calling to say he was drunk. After a moment's hesitation, Chloe couldn't stand it anymore. She decided to call Sophia. Maybe she knew something. She found Sophia's contact in her phone and paused. It had been so long since they'd last talked. Back in high school, they had spoken almost every day. With a soft sigh, she pressed the call button. Chloe, Sophia sounded surprised to hear from her at this hour. What's wrong? Chloe got straight to the point. Sophia, do you know where Leo went today? He called me earlier. She quickly explained the situation, including Faye's strange behavior. Faye set up call forwarding on my phone. And now she's gone too. Sophia listened, then was silent for a long moment. Chloe, are you on campus? Yes. I'm coming to get you.